Hi, good morning. You're welcome to The Big Issue. My name is Selom Adunu. This is your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. This week, we've had a lot of things happening on the parliamentary front, a so-called shake-up or reshuffle, as you may want to call it. The venerable and almost eternal Osechi Mensah-Bonsu has given way for the young, hungrier, and very active lawyer and his former deputy, Mark Afenyo Markin, to take up the reins of the majority caucus in Parliament. But that process, the management of it and its timing, others have said, were not managed properly. Why will he be changed 10 months to election? Why was it that persons close to him and so-called senior members of the caucus were in disagreement, some holding press conferences to say they never knew about any such change and that the majority caucus never contemplated any of those? Eventually, the man himself, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, on the night where they met the president, resigned as the majority leader of Parliament and leader of their caucus. Quite unprecedented. But it appears a lot of water has gone under the bridge now. The transition has occurred. Kwamina Afenyo Markin is now the majority leader. He has pledged to work together with everybody to ensure unity and harmony in the House. Of course, he's been deputy leader for the past few years, hopefully learned the ropes, and the party thinks that he is the man to take the caucus to the next level. We will discuss all of that, matters arising, and see what it will be. Does the party really have the power to select or appoint leaders for the parliamentary group? The new standing orders brought about some confusion in the minds of many, that the leaders of the House, as in the majority, minority, should be appointed or elected or selected or designated, which is the term the standing orders use, but should be designated by the caucus. Does that mean that the caucus itself must vote or meet to appoint their leader? Or because the caucus is the party in Parliament, by extension, the party is the one supposed to do so? Quite some confusion. The Speaker says it is the party and not the members of the caucus necessarily, but it's the party. That's interesting. We will delve into that as well. On the second issue, Dr. Bawumia has been quite busy in the last few weeks after he won that race. He's addressed the country on his vision. He's been putting his team together. This week, he adored his campaign team. Quite some important personalities in there. He chairs the campaign team himself with his running mate. Campaign strategist is Dan Boche. Deputy to him is Kojo Opon Nkrumah. And also the campaign manager is Fredo Pariansa, former MP for Suhum, former Deputy Minister of Communications, former Whip of Parliament, and quite a number of positions he has held. We'll look at that list, the team, and then see what they bring to the table and where Dr. Bawumia hopes to take this campaign and eventually or subsequently, should he get the opportunity to take this country. This is The Big Issue. You can join the discussion as always via our WhatsApp line 0549-986-996 or 020-444-7033. And we'll be happy to share your views and comments with the rest of the world. I'll take a short break, return, provide some updates, introduce my guests, and then we'll get a discussion underway. Once again, you're welcome. Yeah, welcome back to The Big Issue. My name is Selom Adonu. The show is live and interactive. You can join the discussion via 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. We'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. Two issues on the table this morning. We're looking at the so-called majority bench shakeup or reshuffle. Osechi Mensah Bonsu has handed over to Afenyo Markin as leader of the majority caucus. But that didn't come quite smoothly. There were a number of things that happened. People have complained about the management of that process, the timing of that process as it's close to election. But that is more or less an election strategy matter, whether per the timing and the men involved, the party itself thinks that these are the men to help it win the election. But what would that mean for the parliament, work of parliament? We have two new faces joining. Patricia PJ joining as deputy majority leader, and Alex also joining as second deputy majority whip. What do they bring to the table? When are they going to lend the ropes and get the house moving and all of that? If Afenyo Markin is not around, is Patricia PJ able to step in and deal with the minority made up of Atuforsin, Agboja and co? Will she be able to do that to the satisfaction of the governing party or the majority, given that this parliament is a very difficult one, 137, where the numbers have become so critical? Will she be able to marshal the numbers and able to move the house as Osechi Mensah Bonsu has been able to do, and as Afenyo Markin himself has done on a few occasions? That remains to be seen. The management of the process, Osechi Mensah Bonsu, as we speak, is the longest serving member of parliament. He's been in leadership since 2001 or so, deputy whip, deputy leader for close to 15 years. And people have asked whether the way he was ousted or taken out of leadership should be the way to go. Indeed, he said he resigned, but he resigned willingly. In one breath, he said he was required to resign. So would that be a willing or voluntary resignation? We'll look at all of that. Is that really the way our leaders should be dealt with? Recall a couple of months or about a year ago, the minority side had its own fair share. Haruna Idrisu, Muntaka and co. were also taken out of leadership in a manner that did not excite them, and a lot of the younger members of that caucus. Many would have thought that the MPP would have learned from that process, but this is what we have. Is the party so powerful that members of parliament cannot assert independence? And is there any independence to be spoken about in terms of the members and their party? Is there any such thing, given that they came to parliament on the ticket of the party? So can they be very independent in terms of their decision-making from the party? Is the new standing orders a source of confusion in that regard? We will deal with all of these today, and we'll also look at Baumia's campaign team. But let me provide you some updates on the happenings. The new majority leader, Alexander Afenyo Markin, has called upon the minority caucus in parliament to strengthen its bipartisan efforts, with the majority caucus emphasizing the mutual benefits such collaboration can yield. The endorsement of the leadership change within the majority caucus by the New Patriotic Party's National Council on Friday provided a backdrop for Afenyo Markin's address to members of parliament. There is more in the following report.
Osechi Mensah Bonsu in the year 1997 was voted into parliament to represent the people of Old Tafoswami. The constituency was split up into two in the lead-up to the 2004 elections. As an astute politician, Mensah Bonsu has held several leadership positions from his first term in parliament. He was the secretary to the Minority Caucus in his first term in Parliament and became the Deputy Majority Whip from 2001 to 2002 and the Majority Chief Whip from 2002 to 2007. He rose to become the Deputy Majority Leader and Minister of State in charge of Parliamentary Affairs from 2007 to January 2009. He then became the Minority Leader from 2009 to January 2013. And also from 2013 to January 2017. During his tenure in Parliament, he has served on various committees in various capacities, either as chairman or a member. The committees include the Business Committee, Committee on Selection, Committee on Works and Housing, Committee on Youth and Sports, Committee on Lands and Forestry, Committee on Subsidiary Legislation, Special Budget Committee, Appointments Committee, Standing Orders Committee. Amidst growing tension in the Majority Caucus in Parliament of a possible reshuffle in leadership to replace him with the Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Tetteh, Osei Mensah Bonsu declared his intent to resign as the leader of the Majority Caucus on Wednesday. During Thursday's parliamentary proceedings, a notable spectacle unfolded when Osei Mensah Bonsu briefly occupied the seat designated for the Member of Parliament for Adansia Sokwa KT Hammond instead of his own. Despite this unexpected action causing stir, Mensah Bonsu swiftly returned to his proper seat after engaging with some fellow MPs, spending less than 5 minutes in his black seat before exiting the chamber.
Trade across the seas between the Arab world and the east coast of Africa, eventually leading to serious upsurge in slavery and slave trade influenced by the Portuguese thereafter. Mr. Speaker, leaving the generals and moving back home, along the West African coast, you can count forts from the coast of Gorée, Rufisque in Senegal, to ports in Liberia, Freetown, and Ivory Coast and Ghana. Mr. Speaker, between Shama and Keta, we have over 47 forts and castles.
Adding to the intrigue, Alex Tetteh, the Member of Parliament for Sifia Kontombra, took...
All right, so that was quite some report on the happenings in Parliament on the day before yesterday. So yesterday, this is Osei Mensah Bonsu speaking to his colleagues shortly before resuming his new seat as an ordinary member of the House.
2012, when I finally got the nod to lead a party in Ifutu, none had confidence in my ability to win. In fact, I went to President Kufuor, pleaded to get an elderly face to speak for me in Winneba. In the end, Honorable Hackman Owusu-Agyeman sacrificed to be in Winneba and talk to the people. Honorable Stephen Asamoah-Boateng joined later, where we did our house-to-house. By the grace of God, I won. I was nominated to ECOWAS Parliament. When I got to Abuja, there was crisis because one of our colleagues intended to continue, and we had only 8 slots, not 9. The situation was becoming embarrassing. I had to, on my own accord, resign, and I came back home.
Mr. Speaker, news of his unexpected resignation hit all of us on the night of Wednesday, 21st February 2024, as we continue to ponder over how this House will overcome the huge void that he has created by his untimely exit from leadership. We cannot help, Mr. Speaker, but to respect his decision to take a bow. Without a doubt, Right Honourable Speaker, the venerable former leader of this House will be fondly missed. Just like your good self, Right Honourable Speaker, your contemporary, the Honourable OKMB, Osei Mensah Bonsu, has left a mark and a permanent footprint that will probably prove difficult to surpass in the annals of our legislation for years to come. I dare say, Right Honourable Speaker, that his knowledge and experience of parliamentary practice and procedures can be matched by very few.
All right, so a bit of a mix-up there. So Afeni Markin, you heard him, Atu Forcing, Minority Leader, and a few other things. There are a few other clips we will play to you in the course of the program. But let me introduce my guest so we get a discussion started. My guest this morning, Dr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpu. His full name has been rendered here. Dr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Tofu, Member of Parliament for Wa Central, former Minister for many portfolios, former Deputy Majority Leader himself.
Yes.
And Alfred Thompson, who is a former MD for the National Investment Bank and a member of the MPP Communications team. Franklin Kujo, as always, President Imani Africa. Sami Obing, Executive Director, Parliamentary Network Africa, and then also Yabwamia Samoa, campaign team member or strategist for the Movement for Change. These are my guests for the first part of the show. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Yes,
thank you very much.
Let me start with you, Alfred. You are in the governing party. Changes in the majority or changes in the leadership of parties in Parliament normally is no news really. Yeah. But in the past few episodes, I mean the NDC one and this one, they've been eventful. The fact that this particular one saw persons like Jose, who's a very respected young man or person, ranking very highly in the party and in Parliament, coming to address a press conference, quite unprecedented, to say that the caucus was not aware of any leadership change. The caucus indeed hadn't contemplated it. And that's quite serious. So the caucus hadn't thought about it, that there was going to be any change. All of a sudden, I mean, there was a change. The man they were rooting for, speaking for, protecting, defending, resigned at that meeting with the president. It appears all wasn't well with the caucus and the party or the presidency and all of that. Put all of that together for us. What happened really?
Good morning once again to you, and good morning to Honorable Dr. Rashid Popo. You realize that this 8th Parliament has come with a lot of surprises or talks, to say the least. From the beginning when it was formed, whether we carried the majority or NDC carried the majority, the fight within Parliament, then we come to NDC at the crossroads in Parliament, now it's MPP at the crossroads. Fortunately or unfortunately, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, well known as the majority leader ever since, from minority leader to majority leader, the work he's carried out in Parliament, his wealth of knowledge within Parliament, you realize that he decided to step down, so we move on as a party. Because I think after the Thursday meeting, there was some few meetings that went on within the party hierarchy, within himself and I think the presidency. They had to sit down to look at the way forward of the party, because once there are changes, once there were some reshuffle, to say it, or some changes within government, they needed to also start putting things in place. His expertise, I believe, is needed elsewhere, and very soon we'll get to know about it. But I believe that his expertise is needed elsewhere, and they needed him to also guide the new people into the seat. Because we shouldn't forget that in the 9th Parliament, he wouldn't be part of Parliament. And sometimes it's good to get someone who appreciates and understands to guide people whilst he is in Parliament, to put them in the right seat and also help them.
But you should do that with
grow.
him. It does appear the decision was taken behind him.
You see, sometimes it's hindsight. Sometimes you assume that, he would know that.
And he should actually be leading that process.
But
it does appear.
I totally agree with you.
Because he said that he did not want his presence to be a source of friction in the party and all of that, which meant that all wasn't well. So in one breath, he said he was resigning.
I don't believe that we will say that all isn't well. What I will say is that he took a bold decision. He took a matured decision.
To resign.
He took a decision that would benefit the party. He looked at the party first.
A decision to resign.
Oh, yes, a decision to resign.
But did he have a choice? Because if he's been told to resign.
He has a choice.
And was it even a resignation? If he was told to resign, you have no choice.
You have a choice.
The people who put you there say
you
resign.
have a choice that you wouldn't resign. Sack me. You have a choice. And he has decided that I'm resigning for the interest of the party, for the, because the elections we are going into, we need that unity. And that unity alone is what can win us these elections. And he's ready to put everything aside and make sure that that unity is really fostered very well for the interest of Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, who he believes should be leading the next course of action in the country. So, I mean, everything that he's doing, he looks at the bigger picture. He takes a bold decision on behalf of the party to make sure that the party stands tall. It's not, he's shown maturity by showing that it's not about him, it's about the party and what is good for the party and the way forward for the party. We all saw the way our opposition or our opponents went around theirs, and the way the hula baloo, it was all over. But this has, even though at the beginning, it nearly went into something that we didn't want to see. I mean, it's transitioned very well. And
but early days yet, I mean, we've just seen one day. In fact, we've not even done one day yet.
I mean, there's only one person that has been changed. In fact, two actually, because
one is going into the executive.
Yeah, one is going into the executive, and the other, and we have Patricia Page coming on board. But the rest, I think, are those who are already there. The minority whips and everything, they are already in the system. So it's not as if we are taking the whole leadership out. It's just maybe moving him to, because earlier on,
so this even makes it more serious, because it appeared this was particularly targeted at one person. Unlike the NDC one that the whole
earlier
bench
on, you saw
was
all on social media, even his name had popped up for a Minister for Foreign Affairs and everything. So it means that he's been considered into the executive, but maybe it's not the right time.
But he's already in the executive, is he not? He's Minister of Parliamentary Affairs.
He is the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs,
That's
and he's still a Minister
already,
of Parliamentary Affairs.
which is quite strange, but he's still in the executive. So,
so
the point
I
about
mean,
being considered into the executive,
maybe another position within the executive, maybe another position. So we should wait and see what happens. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I feel that what he's done he's shown maturity, he's shown a bold step, and he's shown that it's about party unity, it's not about his personal this thing. But he carries a lot of wealth of experience that nobody can take away from him. I mean, he's led this the parliament since I think the 2009 or so, and up to now he's been the minority leader, majority leader. He's also carried other positions within parliament, and he's shown some level of understanding and appreciation of parliamentary duties, which cannot be taken away from him, and he needs to also help others. So I think, if you ask me, if I want to believe this, I would say that it's a step in the right direction. It would give him the opportunity to also stay back and help people, the new ones who have come in, and also groom people for leadership positions within the party. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I do my heart for him. I give him kudos for this.
I see. Dr. Rashid Popo, you have been in leadership, deputy majority leader at some point. What we've seen in the last few days of the majority, of course, sometimes it's different how it plays out in the minority, and also different from how it plays out in the majority. You have been in the majority leadership. What you've seen in the last few days, would you say is the way things pan out, or it is strange?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to everybody, especially West Central. Actually, it is precedented. It is the way things happen since the beginning of 1992. It has always been the pronouncement of the party that determines the leader of the House. The party would meet, determine who leads the House, and it plays out into the caucus. Even though naturally and by our standing orders, it should be the caucus that should meet and elect their leader. But there's something bigger than the caucus, which is the bigger party. So often and often, the party determines who leads parliament, and endorsed by members of the parliament, members of the particular caucus. The challenge over the years in the last few years, has been the change of leadership within a session, within certain periods. Normally it happens at the end of a session. When a new session is coming, then changes occur. But whilst you are still in a session, within a particular session, changes occur. It's the first time it's happening
to the MPP? Because how did you were deputy majority?
Yes.
Did you move from deputy majority to sports, or you moved from sports to deputy majority?
Yeah, I moved from sports to deputy majority.
Okay, but that was in mid-term.
Yes. No, sometimes too, it happens when a promotion is done, or maybe when an appointment is done of one of the members of one of the leaders, then there's a vacancy, then it is filled. In my particular case, the majority leader was appointed.
Minister for Works and Housing?
Yes. A new leader was appointed.
Cletus Avoka.
And then I was brought in as the deputy leader. Yeah. So sometimes with an appointment, this is determined by the bigger party. And the challenge for members of parliament is that because the leader is emerging out of the caucus, it's important for the caucus to be consulted. And it's important for it to be discussed. So it's not taken by, they are not taken by surprise. In the particular instance of the NDC, people complained because they thought that there was no discussion, they were taken by surprise, they didn't say they didn't want their leader, nobody understood why it happened until later on. In the case of this one...
But do we even still understand why it happened? Not quite.
Well,
some reasons were given, but of course, I won't, don't digress. Just go ahead.
In the particular instant, the same kind of scenario has occurred. The biggest caucus in the MPP is the Ashanti caucus. And they said nobody was consulted. A group of other MPs joined them and made the same kind of pronouncement. And then they made even reference to our new standing orders and said that this standing orders requires that the caucus should elect their own leader. It's not that clear in that standing order, but it does show that it is the leader is the one who emerges out of the caucus, you know, meaning that the caucus would have determined who their leader is. But that pronouncement is not strong enough for us to say that, well, the party doesn't matter. The party always matters because it's the overarching authority that guides the operations in Parliament and out of Parliament. In the case of Honorable Che Mensah, a very renowned, very hardworking, I would say spectacular member of Parliament, whose duty as a lawmaker cannot be underrated at all. His exit was as much as possible, as much as everybody knew, was also a surprise. And he had to resign. Not that he chose to resign, he had to resign. Knowing who he is, he wouldn't like a situation where he's the center of trouble. He just decided that, look, let me leave this place. Because if the party has taken a decision and says that they don't want you as a leader, and it is in public, there's no way an individual can fight the party. And there's no way a certain member of the caucus or members, some group of members of the caucus can fight the party. It becomes like it's a losing battle you are fighting. So,
but why do you think the party won't want him again, given all the work you people say he has done and what we also see outside? Why won't the party want him anymore?
It's a surprising thing that this man who, in fact, in every law you can find in Parliament, you will find huge contribution by Che Mensah Bonsu. Huge contribution. He defends the party well. If he decides to take a position, he takes it to the fullest. He fights you to the hilt. I know him as much as any of the party people because I work with him as a minority leader. But I use a style to deal with him. I know that this is a very difficult guy to deal with. So I gave him all the chance to speak. We allowed him all the chances to speak. My leader and I. And then we got what we wanted. Because just give opportunity to the leaders to speak, to the opposition to speak. Then
indeed, that's all they have to do to be heard.
But eventually, you want government business to happen.
You want your way, you have your way.
So you get your way through. So that's what we dealt, and in that respect, I got to know also that his humanity is something you cannot, is very, very warming. He can be very, very good to the people he deals with. And he has this kind of way of playing it down when tension is high. He would play it in a jovial manner. And when it has to be serious, he will swear God. I'm not saying swear God in particular, but he will do everything to make sure that he's taken seriously. But in the end, he has exited. Afenyo Markins, who is a young man of great reputation, has also come in. I have a lot of respect for him. And let me say, I thank him for
mentioning you.
Mentioning me when, because I identify leaders when I see them. And when he came, I told him, and he became, he's a very generally an aggressive speaker. And I cautioned him, and he understood. And I think that he has only the sky to get to, because he's very, very knowledgeable and is willing to learn. He reaches out to the minority often and often. He has a number of friends there. A lot of the leaders will tell the story he has said, because my intention, when it gets to that point, is to get people to do the right thing. So we can run government, we can run parliament, not government. We can run parliament to the point we have to take, we have to reflect the wishes of Ghanaians. It doesn't mean that I do so to underrate my own party. No, it's not about party when it comes to dealing with individuals. I know that many people in my side will tell you the same story. I try to bring up people to see the reality of events and then to shape their thinking and character to reflect the times. Whatever decision you take in the end is your decision. I recalled the Minister for Information, former Minister for Information, when he came to Parliament. He came as an MPP person. I said, my friend, why? Why are you? I told you to come to Parliament. I didn't know you were coming to join MPP. he said, well, when you told me I was likely to become a politician, you didn't tell me to join NDC. So I decided to, join the party that I think is best suitable for me. So in this situation, wouldn't have been a big deal if there had been an open discussion about what changes was going to take place. And let's allow it the way it is. The party, the leadership appear to see much more than we see. We in Parliament are legislators. We see the process of legislation. We work towards it. We carry government business, to the people and try to address key issues in government, policy and legislative issues. But when it comes to the overall decision as to how to win power, then they begin to pull the knots to determine what should do, what should happen. So I think that it's okay. What has happened is okay. Afionyo Markins is a person that anybody would respect. He has very good academic credentials. He's an advocate. He speaks very well, but he's very aggressive sometimes, and he takes the ball to you. What I will only say is that he must definitely have to cut down on his aggression. When you are a leader, you want to push business to the logical conclusion. You don't want to introduce contention in government business. Yeah.
I see. That's fine. What do you make of the timing of the decision? People have said the timing is poor and all of that.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
Bad timing, but for those who think it's bad timing, for the others who think that this is the time we want it to happen, it's a debate between us and them, because they know what they want and at which time they want it, and they have decided that. But those of us in Parliament, we are almost getting to the end of the session. By the end of this year, Chairman would have ended his so many years in leadership, would have carried his record, but it ended this way. So people call it bad timing because they wanted him to finish the term. Number one. Number two, they thought that he's such a good guy and there was no reason for him to be removed within this space of time. But in the end, if that doesn't play to the will of the leadership and to their general expectations to contest an election they are likely to lose, very, very likely to lose, it has a timing effect. This is what we want. Let's allow them.
I see. Let me speak to Sami Obin. Sami Obin is Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa. Hello, Sami. Welcome to the program. You have been observing Parliament and all of that. What does this decision mean for you?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Hello, Sami. Sami joins us via Zoom. Yes.
I can hear you. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. So, yeah, certainly it's a decision that for many people watching Parliament, it wasn't really expected until the week began and we started hearing indications about the issue being on the agenda for the party at the Alisa meeting, and then the other issues unfolded, particularly because Chairman Sabunsu has been with the leadership of Parliament, since his coming into Parliament in 1997, caucus secretary, rose to become a deputy whip, and the roles he has held were many. And so it was expected that with just a couple of months to the end of the life of this 8th Parliament, but also his entire period or stay in Parliament, because he's not coming back, it would have been made to complete. But if you're a majority leader, you are also leader of government business in Parliament. And if the government that you are supposed to lead their business in Parliament thinks that somebody else must lead that business in Parliament and you must do something else, then there is very little that can be said from the outside on that issue. My only challenge, or our challenge really as a parliamentary monitoring organization, is the precedent that is being set really on how leaders get changed from the various caucuses, with the indication from the caucus members that they are not consulted, they are not involved. It happened in the NDC side earlier a year ago, it happened again. And this can really be problematic if we allow the status quo to continue.
I see, but that is quite an interesting position to hold. People have said that the party in Parliament cannot be independent of the party outside. The party outside really determines what happens. Yes, consultation would be nice, but if there's no consultation, it doesn't mean the party outside shouldn't have its influence on the party inside. They are in Parliament on the ticket of the bigger party, so the bigger party has a bigger view. That view holds sway over this one. The new standing orders, I'm not sure they justice to the matter, because it leaves some room for debate again when people thought that the matter should have been settled with the new standing orders. What's your thinking generally?
You're right. The new standing orders could have done better, really, in addressing this particular matter if Parliament really want or meant to address it, especially because the new standing orders came into play after the NDC situation has unfolded last year, and we saw how things went. And so Parliament could have made things tighter. I really don't think that the coinage in the new standing orders, allows for anything different from what has just been done in the NPP side to be done. And I'm not also saying that the party outside of Parliament should not be interested in what happens in Parliament, more so on the issue of who leads their caucus in Parliament. The point is that this is going to be a leader who would be superintending or leading a group of people. I think that it is only courteous that these group of people are engaged on who we think should be the leader. They should have their views and air them. Of course, democracy should hold sway. In the end, the political party can have its position. If you look at the trend from the NDC situation last year, the NPP situation last year, we have a situation where the issue is put out there. It becomes contentious. The caucus members rebel. Later on, the party invites caucus members into a meeting. They try to come to some amicable solution. It is not tidy that way. It could be tidier if right from the very onset, even before these announcements become public, members of the caucuses are engaged. And you see, that becomes respectful to these honorable members of Parliament. But the second aspect which we also need to look at is the definition matter, and because you brought in the standing orders. The standing orders defines the majority leader or the minority leader, in the case of majority leader, as the leader of the one who is leading the caucus.
The majority caucus.
And the majority caucus is defined as the party or parties that hold the largest number, in parliament. What that means is that we may have an instance, as we've had in the past, but it may even be more profound in the future, because we've seen how different trends have taken place in various parliamentary settings in Ghana and even outside of the world. Let me give a hypothetical situation. Assuming that, the NPP or the NDC, at any elections gets, let's say, 120 members apiece, and you have the remaining 35 members coming from CPP, PPP, whichever political party. And these members of parliament decide to do business with one of these political parties to make up the majority caucus. Are we saying that in selecting that particular caucus's leadership, which is now not made up of the party or a party, but is made up of parties that have made the greater or the larger number, that bigger party, so to speak, will sit at its party headquarters and determine who becomes leaders of the caucus without recourse to the other members who belong to the caucus?
I think what will happen in that sense is because the majority then would have been a coalition, the parties outside would have spoken among themselves to agree on which of their members in parliament should take leadership roles. So the influence of the party outside wouldn't have been muted.
The influence of the party outside can never be muted. In fact, the influence of the party outside would have to be complemented by that disrespectful act of ensuring that members of parliament are engaged, and that members of parliament do not hear of these things in the news first, and that even if the party has taken a decision and has a firm position, they make a persuasive argument to their people prior to announcing it in the press. Members of parliament on both sides, we are hearing some of them, defend this, perhaps because it does not really affect them, directly. But these are things that we would very soon, sooner than later, start having members of parliament complain about the excessive influence of their political parties in their parliamentary work, if care is not taken. It may not necessarily be about leadership selection. It may be about other subject matters. And we saw how this played out in the NDC situation. We've seen how it's played out in the NPP situation. We've seen how members of parliament have had to come out to indicate that they were not consulted, they were not involved in the process at all. I think that it could have been done in a tidier manner. And I think that it could have been done in a way that showed respect to the members of parliament who belong to either of the caucuses.
I see. But, to be fair to the issues, are you suggesting that in the case of the NDC minority and majority, the key, the central figures in the discussions were not aware? Because even those of us in the media knew that Osechi Mensah-Bonsu was about to leave and Afenyo Markin was the guy to step in. What we didn't get right was the Patricia PJ part. We thought that Frank Anodompe was going to move in and all of that. But we knew for a fact that the main guy was going to leave. In the case of in the case of the NDC, I'm not sure that the decision came as a surprise to Haruna and Muntaka and co. I'm not sure. I'm sure there was some discussion, as the parties told us, some discussion with them before the decision was taken. The generality of the MPs, yes, maybe they didn't know, but the key persons themselves, I'm not sure the decision was taken without their knowledge.
Well, and these key persons are not leaders unto themselves. Caucus management in parliament is no joke in my opinion. You have groups of people who have different interests, who have different challenges, who are leading from different constituencies coming together. You've got to have them all on board in a way that allows everybody to feel a part of it, to make sure that decisions are going your way, to ensure that there's unity, camaraderie among your team members and what have you. And like I said, it is only respectful of these members of parliament, members of the caucus, to at least be seen to be involved in the process. And I think many of the instances that we've heard members of parliament speak on these matters, they have spoken about it in this regard. Now, you talk about the key players. I have heard, for example, the minority leader, indicates that, barely 24 hours to when the decision was taken, he was called and told that this is what needs to be. I have heard the majority leader also, less than a couple of hours before his resignation came through, indicates that whereas he's not oblivious of what is going on, this has not been, formally, there's not been a formal engagement in this regard. All we are saying is that there could be a tidier way of doing this. Party has an indication of who needs to lead. Majority leader is going to become leader of government business, or is leader of government business in parliament. Government thinks that somebody else can lead its business in parliament. It is only fair that the group of people that these leaders are to lead would have some form of an engagement. Why is it that, just after these announcements become problematic in the media, the parties will hurriedly call their caucuses in both instances and say that we are trying to engage them and try to calm things down? Why put the cart before the horse when you can avoid these kinds of situations?
When you talk about party, are you talking about the party as in party proper, Justin Kodua, Frimpong, and Stephen Intim, or you are talking about the presidency or the government? Because it does appear that Osechi Mensah Bonsu says his resignation came after the engagement with the president. So do you mean the government, the executive, or you mean the party?
In the case of the majority, it may be slightly different from the minority, because remember again that I said majority leader is leader of government business in parliament. And so if you are leading government business in parliament, that government for which business you are leading in parliament is led by a president. So certainly he must be involved, the party will be involved. If you are in minority, there may not be those dynamics playing out. So the dynamics plays out depending on which side of the aisle that a group finds itself.
I see. All right, this is the big issue on 97.3 Citi FM. We're looking at the majority shake-up, a number of changes occurring there. Osechi Mensah Bonsu, the longest-serving member of parliament, who was majority leader, is giving way to Afenyo Marking. And a lot is being said about how the process was managed and the timing of it and everything. But what is clear is that it does appear that that's how things work in parliament. And it's happening in the NDC, it's happening in the MPP. Let me speak to Franklin Kujo. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa. Franklin, I know you might have had engagements with Osechi Mensah Bonsu and even Afenyo Marking himself. Did this come to you as a surprise, the change, and how it was managed? You want to unmute. All right, so Franklin Kujo is trying to put his system together properly so we can hear him when he speaks. He's the president of Imani Africa, and the matter we are discussing is a majority leadership shake-up. Osechi Mensah Bonsu is made way for him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There are two people that came on board.
Yeah, so
Patricia and
Alex.
So
yes, from Secretary Akontomra.
Yeah.
Yes. May I also mention that the Mirror of today is done a beautiful one on Osechi Mensah Bonsu, thanking him for his leadership, his sterling leadership, Alfred wants me to add. And he reads, "Thank you. Your success has been fueled by your intelligence and energy, diligence and resilience. You've earned our greatest respect. Best wishes for the journey ahead." That is from the Mirror, I think, or that's in the Mirror newspaper.
I think it's the Mirror that
today. There's no attribution to it, so
there's a company on top there.
No, the company is OKMB. That's Osechi Mensah Bonsu.
Oh, okay.
So there's no really attribution. So we are thinking it's
the Mirror,
or maybe an unknown person who did that. This day and age, that businessman can come to Parliament.
Or it could be Citi.
No, it's certainly not Citi.
Sometimes
we would have said it ourselves.
It's good for things to happen this way. At least in your lifetime, you see how much people appreciate you. Yeah, so we don't lose our lives and get appreciation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's what it is. Franklin, if is Franklin fine? Franklin, let's hear you then. Okay. So I mean, Franklin is still putting his stuff together. So now let's deal with Patricia PJ. I mean, she's been in Parliament for quite a long time, but first time in leadership.
Yeah.
And people have said that this is a wrong time for her to come lend the rope. This is a very difficult parliament. You have a government that may not be doing so well and yet wants to break the eight. I don't know how much parliament can help in that. And I don't know how much of strength and strategy and energy she brings to the fore. You may know her better.
I'll just point this out. I would not say the government may not be doing so.
Yeah, I know you.
The government has challenges globally and locally.
No, that's choice of words.
Yes,
it's the government on the ground, of course. So I don't have any
your
problem
viewers and our viewers.
I don't have any problem with that.
The government is doing well. The government is working hard. The government believes that they have to do everything possible to make sure that the lives and the livelihood of people within this country is going towards the right direction. And so, I mean, from time to time, there is a change to bring people on board, to bring others on board. Sometimes you need this shake-up to bring new energies on board. Sometimes you do it to even whip up the old people there to tell them that, listen, let us wake up and do what we have to do and do it well. And as I told you earlier on, I believe that it is the best time to do this. We have about 9 or 10 months ahead of us. Osei Mensah is needed seriously at other places. Patricia is coming on board. You know, she hasn't been a minister under this government. So
she was a deputy minister.
Deputy minister in the first, this second, thing. So it helps her to also sit down and look at what we have to do. And she won her primary. So definitely she's coming into the next leadership or the next parliament. So I would say that it's good that she's coming now, put some energies on board. I think with the experience she's had so far at Parliament, it's easier for her to learn now than to say that, oh, let's wait for later. I don't think it's a problem for her now. I don't think she'll have difficulties in being, because she is not the leader, she's a deputy. So as a deputy, it's easier for you to learn faster and quicker than to lead when you don't know. And I always say that just like a president, someone who hasn't been a president before, when you give him the seat, he has to bring out all his good to make sure that people see the things he has in him. And in that same way, she's going to do the same. I mean, it shouldn't be a problem. The thing is that you are on the right path and you are doing the right things. I would say kudos to her and to also Alex, who just came on board. Afenyomakin, a fine gentleman. He's a good team player. He's always, he comes from the central region, so I've worked with him a lot. And I would say that he's an affable person, and everyone would want to work with him. As he said, I also sometimes behave that way. Sometimes when I speak, people think that I'm angry. And it's not that you are angry, but you want to make sure that your voice is heard and heard strong. And that is how it is. It's not as if maybe we'll say he's angry or something.
You said he's an aggressive speaker.
The aggressive speaker. So and I'm saying that I have.
But no, you are not an aggressive speaker. You are okay.
To tell you the truth, this morning when I was leaving the house, my mom just called me. Said, "Oh, someone said yesterday we were angry on set," and I said I wasn't angry. I was sending a message across. So it's sometimes people will see you as if you are being angry. Okay. It's not that you are angry, but maybe you want to send a strong message across. And so I believe in him. We've had banters as well, but we always respect each other and work together for the common good of the party. So I would say I have a strong feeling that whatever is ahead of us is a strategic plan and it's being executed well. I believe that with everybody on board, we should be able to achieve the success of swearing in Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia on the 7th of January 2025. I believe in that, and we are going to work toward that. Whilst working towards that, we also should not, or we are not going to be forget the mind that we have a government that we need to perform to make sure that even though there's a global economic crunch that my brothers know from the other side, my brothers and sisters know, they, as usual, as a political party, they'll take advantage of every situation. If I was in that situation, I'll do the same. You take advantage of the situation and let people think that is the government that is not performing. I would say the government has performed excellently well so far. The challenges they faced with what they've been through and the way forward. I would say that before the end of this year, people will see that yes, with all the challenges, especially economically, that has happened within the last year, the government has done so well, making sure that we put the country in the right state, and we are going to do that. That is why you also need someone who understands the economic situations of the present time and will take the bull by its horn the first day they give him the job. not someone who is now come to appreciate and understand and also learn of where we've gotten to, from where we've come, where we've gotten to, and what you have to go.
As in the
forward.
presidency or the parliamentary leadership?
The presidency.
No, but the presidency.
I don't know.
No, if
as an economic person.
Yeah, but if you took us into the mess, are you the one to bring us out?
What mess?
Oh,
when you say mess, what mess?
No, the current economic situation is not pretty.
Is it a global thing? Or it's a local thing?
Well, the globe has been affected differently, and we've had this argument many times.
In every way,
yes,
every country has been affected. Listen, when you look at even our neighboring, and sometimes when people complain that but even our neighboring Ivory Coast has not experienced what they've experienced. What do you call it? Inflation in 12 folds.
Yeah, but they've not done DDEP.
No,
they've not had haircuts.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I'm saying that everybody is
experienced is unique.
Exactly, and we're saying that our situation before the crisis was precarious. So the crisis just pushed us into the ditch.
You see,
in fact, the country had underlying conditions.
Oh yes.
So the crisis, which was COVID,
once
almost killed it.
Once you have underlying conditions and you know how to go around it, you can go around it and go around it well.
But we're going around it well. People have lost money.
You see, when the COVID came in and we had that gap, there was a huge gap for about 2 years. And that is where the problem started.
But everybody faced that. The point I'm making is everybody faced that.
And everybody has a challenge in one way or another.
Yes, but I'm saying that our challenge
is bigger. We are hitting it
than our contemporaries.
No.
Our challenge is how many of the people...
Because our country grew more than 3 times than other countries.
No, but that doesn't matter.
It matters.
When
you are looking at all this,
wait,
and you are looking at your growth,
I may be growing consistently.
Yeah.
Rather than, if, for example, I am losing money, or I've lost money, haircut and things like that, lost jobs, etc.
I agree with it. That
it's a bad situation.
Yeah. It's not a bad situation where definitely these things would, these monies that people have lost, they'll get it back.
How would they get it back? If you've lost money, how are you getting it back?
Once the system...
People have lost money.
Once the system is being placed well, and we have the records.
So the money will come. How will you have it back? You have it back through another work you will do? Or the money will generate
those businesses. Let me give you an example. Those businesses that were closed down during the Doomsday situation. Now I think it's
okay.
back.
So it's back. But we'll take a break.
Now they are.
We'll take a break. I know Doc wants to come in. We'll take a break. Yes, because what you have entered is a landmine, and I'm not sure Franklin will allow you either. So we'll take a break. We'll come back, hear from Franklin, then we hear from Dr. Rashid Popu. Don't go away. Very big welcome to you. This is a big issue, your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. We've been discussing 2 issues. First is the front bench reshuffle or shake-up in the majority in Parliament. Sechi Mensah-Bosu is bowed out, and Alex Tetteh has stepped in as the new majority leader. We've been looking at the decision, the timing, the management of it, etc. And also, we will soon look at the matter of Bawumia's campaign team and the subsequent announcement of a manifesto team. Very huge manifesto team, if you ask me. But that is what it is. They are all supposed to bring things on board to make the manifesto better and good, so that the people of Ghana can buy into it and give him the opportunity to lead the country and give the MPP the opportunity to also break the 8. My guests helping us do the discussion are Dr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, Member of Parliament for Wa Central, Alfred Thompson, former MD for NIB and member of the MPP former Deputy Managing Director for the National Investment Bank and a member of the MPP Communications team, Samuel being Executive Director of the Parliamentary Network Africa, Franklin Kujo, who we are yet to hear from. These are my guests. Now, Franklin, I guess we have you now. Yes, a lot has been said about the process. And I was asking you initially what your sense of it was. Were you surprised that majority of Sechi Mensah-Bosu, the colossus he was or he is, would be taken up this way? Or you think that it was time for him to leave and all of that? Put that in context for me. People have talked about the timing and the management of the process.
Well, good morning again, and good morning to my good friends in the studio. First of all, I've got to say that I totally have lots of respect for Honorable Sachi Mensah. I think he must be the longest serving member of parliament right now, if
Yes,
if
yes,
I'm not mistaken.
yes.
And yeah, I mean, such a towering figure in terms of aptitude and in terms of, I mean, real politics, really. I really doff my hat out to him. I think the challenge that he faced, I suspect, was when these whole conversations about running mates actually started. Don't forget the running mate issue is still a is still a topical issue, right? And then I think he was head. Well, some people suggested that he could be a useful pair to useful hand and head to the current V. And then that also seemed, we don't know where that is headed as we speak right now. But then something else cropped up. I don't know whether it is believable, but I did hear that at some point he was also being considered for the it was the foreign ministry, which would have been fantastic, by the way. I mean, I think Honorable Sachi Mensah would have been the ideal candidate for that particular job. Nothing against the current occupant, but I think the Osachi Mensah would have done a much stellar job, really. Then that seems to have eclipsed as well, and then probably, well, those within the saddle, I think Honorable Afenyo, who is very ambitious, by the way, and there's nothing wrong with being ambitious, but I thought that uh, maybe positively ambitious. I had been waiting in the saddle, thinking that, well, this is my time, and it appears nothing was happening on the other end. Then there's the party that wants to prosecute an agenda based on what exactly have been communicated to them, I suspect the VIP role, possible VIP role for Osache Mensah, and then the possibility of he being foreign minister. And then there's a third element, which was essentially what the man himself had said, that he was no longer interested in representing the people of Swami. Is this Swami, right? And
Yes.
that he was not going to run for the third term, which then created all these gaping holes, if you ask me, which needed to be filled politically. And that so then we got to where we are today. I think my reading of it was that, well, he probably wasn't really interested in leaving the post, given the fact that we were just left with 10 months to run this administration's course, and the fact that the presentation in Parliament ought to be quite strong. I mean, it turns out that things did not go the way he wanted, and then he said he had resigned. And if you listen to the background of which he delivered those words, I mean, the language he spoke, tells you that he wasn't particularly happy about the process, right? And some of us believed somehow that he was actually checked out. But against all the things that were expected to happen, which did not happen, you could also not fault the likes of opinion marking and the party itself, right? Because the party needed to prepare for what they believe is the battle of their lives, the third term run for the presidency. And so they thought that they should ginger up things a bit in the parliament and thought maybe Afenyo Markin could do the job together with whoever has been appointed as his deputy right now. So nothing to take away from the, as I said, brilliant mind like Osachi Mensah, who indeed, in fact, if things had been done probably better in certain jurisdictions, should probably be still interested in being in parliament and some sort of emeritus position. I have no doubt he'll be a better speaker one day, by the way, and all of that. But things did not go the way it went, and the party is in a hurry, and so decided that this is the way they want to go. Thankfully, he accepted, and I think he made very cryptic words that he did so in order to not in order to stop the bloodletting that was likely to happen, which eventually would have hurt his party as well. So, all in all, look, we are discussing this because it's come up. When the NDC had their turn, you remember the things I said. I think it was a positive change that had occurred, and that every party or any party should be watching what the NDC have done. The NDC seems to have settled in quite well, and now it was the turn of the NPP. This is politics. However you look at it, someone may be hurt, others may be happy. I think for me, going forward, opinion marking should be able to emulate exactly the ideals of Sachi Mensah, adding to his boisterous nature so that he navigate the very choppy waters of Parliament very, very well. And the political party representation as it is in an election that is really crucial for them. I have no doubt he'll do well, but he must obviously pay a lot of tribute to such a person who indeed, as we speak right now, probably is one of the best leaders we've had in a generation.
What do you make of the argument about the independence of members of parliament vis-a-vis the influence of their parties outside in choosing their leaders? You think choosing the leaders should just be the job of the guys in parliament, that is the members of parliament in the caucus, or the party necessarily should be the ones pointing or choosing the people, as we've seen happen over the years?
You know, once you are born, you remain under the care of your mother probably until 18. I mean, ideally, until 18 when you are supposed to be an adult. I know people who are beyond 40 who still live with their parents, by the way. But I would have thought that in the political party arrangement, once you belong to a party and on the ticket of that party, you went to parliament, there's a certain sense that you'd have to pay some sort of homage to your party. And your party may still have a say in your growth. If the party decide at some point that, well, they think that your interests may not align with their interests, they may make suggestions to the caucus. I think that's what I think should be done, because at this time, you're actually a full-grown human adult, right? And so suggestions could be made. They can't just decide that willy-nilly they'll have their way because they perceive you not to be probably serving the interest of a futuristic, if you like, impossibility of running a third term or otherwise. And so somehow they will need to charge you out. I don't think those things are responsible. I thought that the best thing the party should have done was to have done it in a manner that was matured, because these were not children any longer. These were adults. That even if they were staying within your household, you still have to give them some credit and some respect. And I suspect that's how the party failed not to do. But I've heard otherwise as well. But I think it should have been a much more, accommodating experience where the various parties were spoken with or to, and have a conversation as to how this could have been done seamlessly without any party taking a lot of pain. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But I still think that parties have a role, but that role must be carefully guarded and must be suggested in an adult-like manner, and not the way it was done. I don't think that was fair. I mean, if the party had shown us examples or evidence that the gentleman Osachi Mensabos was resisting and that did not want to leave the post, then would have said, okay, well, maybe they have a reason why they needed to do it the way they did. But if it is the case that they had spoken with him and if that's to be cordial, all these things wouldn't really have happened. So a short answer to your question is that yes, parties have a role, but to a certain extent, when especially the growth of parliament under the care of such leaders have shown that, or the growth of their own party have shown that in parliament have shown that these are careful-headed, level-headed pairs that you need to prosecute any agenda. In any case, I think the party must have sacrificed to such Sambos on the altar of expediency. Expediency partly because he himself said he's not going to return to parliament, and expediency because, well, then they needed someone in the saddle who may be pursuing, promoting those interests. I do not know how that can be quantified anyway, but hey, in politics, a lot happens. Abenyamaki may have the magic wand, hopefully, but otherwise, the third and last point again is that the expediency was that they needed to send a certain signal to the electorate out there that they are probably interested in gingering up their support base with some new lease of life. And that's what I think they do. Whatever that means, I don't know how all those calculations go into winning an election, but they're on the ground, and so they probably know better.
Yes, a final one on this for you. Joe Osei-Wusu, very respected member of parliament, Atache as well. Prior to the official announcement, we saw that press conference addressed by Joe Osei-Wusu. What do you think he was trying to signal?
I think he was signaling the same point I just made not a couple of moments ago, that look, this whole idea of a change in leadership must have had the interest of the caucus, must have taken the interest of the caucus as well, right? Because you can't just do that. The fact that they belong to a party doesn't mean that the party owes them, especially when the people heading the party themselves are novices. I mean, I would be really reticent to take advice from the general secretary, who I suspect is a novice, from somebody who had been in parliament for 23 years. Come on, what are you talking? Right? But of course, the general secretary is not the embodiment of the entire party, but they are party leaders as well. Those young boys, like, what's the guy's name? The guy, the national organizer, the rest. To think that the effrontery really, yeah, the effrontery really, to think that these two, as part of the council, would decide my fate, having been in parliament for that long, was a bit quite outlandish to take. But anyway, whatever it is, that I think Joe Wise was signaling the fact that these are just disrespectful views, and he was not going to countenance any of this at all. So he was doing so on the under the aegis of showing respect, not just to your peers but to your elders, and in this regard, a very important.
I see. I think you are muted now, but I think that the point you're making is well settled. You're muted.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
I just made the last be short. That's all right. The point I was just making was that, I mean, Joe Wise was on all fours. That what he did by calling people to order, and I said it signaled the fact that there was utter disrespect for them when this whole process was done.
I see. Great. Honorable Rashid Pelpo, you wanted to make some intervention before I went to Franklin.
Yes.
In response to what Alfred was saying.
Yeah. You asked a question about the new deputy leader, Akiaje. Patricia. Yeah. But he veered into discussing how his party is going to win. And first of all, Patricia Apiaje, I worked with him in different situations, in about 3 committees. Very, very serious lady, committed to work. I was surprised that Nanado didn't see her to be one of her ministers, to be capable of becoming one of his ministers.
She was a deputy minister.
But she was a deputy minister in the first term.
I'm talking about
She should have done better, they would have retained her.
Yeah, but I'm saying that knowing who she is, she's a very serious lady, a very committed lady, and she speaks well and had been contributing well in Parliament. So I'm sure they noticed all that and decided to make her a leader. But in doing so, he's trying to discuss her capability. He talked about her party be performing excellently well. I'm just quoting him, and says that they are going to win the next elections. For me, consistently, if you find them doing so badly, and they keep telling Ghanaians they are doing so well, and to the point they are now adding excellently well, it's an insult to Ghanaians. It's like it's a disrespect. It's a disrespect to the feeling we have now, the pain we are going through, that all these years, as we had high-level confidence in a government that won by a disputable 1 million votes, to come out with such policies, borrowing about $600 billion, a total, taking our debt to $600 billion. But
that wasn't a borrowing. The debt, some existed before, and that will not only
taking our debt
to.
Okay. We started with 120. They took it up to 600 billion.
But there were other things like exchange rate difficulties, which ballooned the figure. So it wasn't like money they brought in.
It is.
No, Citis.
A combination, 600 billion Citis. It's a combination of other factors. But that's where we got to. If you want to analyze what happened in the 120, we also tell you there were other things. But where it got to the point that debt to GDP rose beyond 100%. Can you believe that? It's unprecedented in our recent history. And inflation uncontrollable. The forex, the Citi collapsing. I mean, people who said they are going to deliver us the best economies and create jobs for our people, improve the business sector, collapse businesses. The banks all collapsed. The small businesses that depended on small borrowing in order to, they all collapsed. Jobs became a problem. Statistical Service has brought out figures of our levels of percentage level of debt, unemployment in the country. I mean, with all these things, if you keep saying we are doing excellently well, it's like you are ignoring the pulse, the pain Ghanaians are going through with all this. You know, you go everywhere else. Public services that you should render free is being paid for by people. Contractors are complaining. They go to jobs and they tell them, pay this money before you get a job.
What kind of public services are being paid for when we are supposed to get them free?
That is the question. That is the level of corruption we have gotten up to.
So you mean corruption?
Yes, high-level corruption, high-level abuse of the jobs they are doing. And the job as people who are in charge of our governance.
And you say corruption?
No, what it means is that if you have to get a service from an agency, if you don't pay bribe, which is extra cost to you, you won't get that service. That's what he's saying.
No, but you see, when you attribute it to the government, then you have...
But he said the government is in. The government must deal with corruption.
No, but if you know something like that and you can report to the IOCO or OSP, it's not everything that government
a business,
says.
But let me
say.
if
the person even giving the bribe is at fault.
I see.
A businessman.
But sometimes it's not something you have experienced. It's something that someone has experienced and is telling you.
So
Which
when
is
someone has experienced
experienced
and if they are telling you, you tell them that the first thing you have to do is to do
But the
ABCD.
listen,
You see, because Leonardo sitting there would not know that some of these things are going on.
Systems must be put in place.
That's what we are doing.
Yes, systems must
That's
be
what
put in
we.
place.
That's why we
We've
go
done
and take it out.
7 years.
That's why
And
we
it's
go and
not
take it
happening.
out.
All right, but let him land here.
Let him land.
You
and I'll
know,
come in.
my impression is that this government, from the word go, didn't understand what governance is. The impression they had is that be smart in government. Being smart in government in the Ghanaian parlance means that you go in there, make private money, change public money into private money, and be smart about
The
it.
president says that if you wanted to make money, you do private service, private sector, not
But
public sector.
Don't,
and that
don't,
appeared to be
don't
his
take
guiding principle.
those words serious.
Wow.
Didn't Baumia say that he was going to construct a senior high school in every Zongo community? Has he done it? If you take his words serious,
But the
it's going
economy
to be
at some
terrible.
point,
Didn't he say that
brought
he's
issues,
going to
so-
construct roads with concrete? Has he done it? Didn't he say that
Economy
he's going to do?
didn't do well.
He's going to
Some
do.
places that have been done.
He's going to build a harbor in Cape Coast. I mean, so many things. Don't take their words serious. These are words that were meant to confuse people and to get them to vote for them. They have given them the vote. Have they delivered? We wouldn't have come to this level until he said they are performing excellently. It's a pain in our heart that at a point when Ghanaians will have to take a decision and create a situation where Ghanaians can be confident about governance again, they are trying to break into the system and confuse people by telling stories about what they have done, you know. And you asked it, you reminded us about something. You see, when Dumso came in the John Mahama era, it wasn't his fault. Remember, in the 8 years of John Kufuor, there was no investment in power.
That's not true.
Yes, there was no investment in power.
Never true.
Osajifo badge and those
Thank
ones.
you.
Listen to me. They made attempts to invest. For example, I mean, he even did the Bui Dam. But what I'm saying is that they didn't come into operation when John Mahama came. And then during the period of John Mahama, international investment began to come in, businesses began to rise, and there was a need to catch up. And power is not something you can just go and pick and start getting it happen. It is a process by which, you know, you go through a process by which you can have independent power producers coming in and all that. So that space needed to be filled. And John Mahama came out to the people and said, look, I'm responsible, I'm going to take charge of it, and I'm going to make sure the thing happens, that we create power, we get power back to the people. And he did it. It also happened at a time the rains failed Ghanaians, if you can remember. So we didn't blame anybody at all. He just said, look, it's my responsibility. I'm going to do it. And he did it. Now, you can't find government taking responsibility for anything that has happened.
But they said that was COVID, which is a fact. Russia
Isn't it laughable to you?
They are still
Isn't it laughable to you? Look, all the West African countries, all the countries in West Africa have performed better than us in the last 8 years. If you want, go check the records. Cote d'Ivoire, which is very a country we are neighbored, we almost the same kind of economy and the same kind of investment. Look, Cote d'Ivoire was far behind Ghana in GDP ratings. Now Cote d'Ivoire has overtaken Ghana.
Overtaking Ghana?
It has overtaken Ghana.
Bigger than Ghana's?
Now it has overtaken Ghana in the last 3 years. Go check the records and see. If you have an indolent people running an economy and failing to do so, will not refuse and have not accepted the responsibility of it, this is what happens. So I'm saying that, look, you can't say that everybody in MPP is bad, but they have failed. Once you have failed, stop talking about we have done so well. We have been excellent.
Back to the
I have to respond. He said something.
You started it.
No, he said something that we need to put the right or the truth in perspective.
Just 2
One,
seconds.
the excellent, and this thing that I said we've done excellently in the face of the challenges we are facing. You can't just take the excellent out and leave the challenges.
Where is the excellent?
But excellent means excellent.
In the face of challenges.
Who did
There are
face
challenges.
this challenge? Everybody faced the challenge.
You didn't face challenges. And secondly, he said that what? President Kufuor, when he was leaving office, did not add anything to
They talked about Buidam. He mentioned Buidam.
It's not only Buidam.
What did he do?
He did the Buidam, the 400 megawatts, TTP1, 126 megawatts, TTP2, that is 49 megawatts. Osono now Senti plant, 126 megawatts. The Sono Asogli plant, 200 megawatts. Takrade 1, power.
And all of those
these things he's mentioning.
Yes.
All of those came on stream before.
They didn't.
Buidam
They didn't.
come
He
on
put
stream.
everything.
They didn't come in
place.
My brother.
Everything in place. You see,
This is
when
red
we say
herring
government,
argument.
when we say government is a continuum, and you've started putting things in place, and it's moving in that direction,
I'm
and
telling
you
you
leave
that-
even money to finish it up.
I'm saying
and
that-
even at that
Very
time,
well.
you were sitting down, and you people were enjoying from that booty, and you come in under President Mills. Go and check. Under President Mills, we didn't have this damn doomsaw that we had under that's the Mama. Go and check.
But no, you see,
And it's because, so when you come and tell me that,
if
you didn't create it.
If you drop the politics, right, then the reality is that Doomsaw was a combination of years of underinvestment in the sector.
But borrowing wasn't.
It was just.
He talked about borrowing.
It
wasn't.
was just a matter of time that a situation would have come that way. Today, if we stop investing in the sector, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, we may get back to the same situation of Doomsaw. So it is a collective failure.
In that same
we must all
collective
own.
failure,
Yes. What you can say is that
$21 billion to our debt.
no problem. It's because of that failure.
Now, have added only 13 billion.
It's
but they
because
said
of that failure.
we've borrowed more than that.
It's because of that failure, the failure of successive governments not to invest into the sector properly. That was what got us.
But that's what
in
Kufuor's
time, there was some kind of doom. So I recall that.
There,
even in
there
Rawlins's
were,
time,
listen,
there was some kind of
there was the
but I think matters came to a head.
Akosombo Dam, that we had that all the challenges.
And now
that is
we
why
diversified our energy
That is why
sources.
he took upon the Bui Dam and added all these ones before even leaving office. You see, that is why under President Mills, that is why under President Mills, we didn't have those challenges.
We are digressing.
He talked
things he's
about
talking about.
inflation and everything. Listen, when you put a cumulative inflation for the year together and you average it, you realize that inflation, we've done better than they did until the 2020,
But
where it hit 50.4%.
It's part of it.
Those
so you can't isolate
I'm
that.
giving you
It's funny.
how we've grown things. When President Mahama was taking over office from President Mills, inflation was single digit.
Very well.
But he moved it up
Yeah,
to
but
over
I'm saying that
15%.
let's not digress.
So let's not go there. If you are going to talk
yes,
about economics,
let's not digress.
Look, you can
About
arrange
economics.
for us to meet on this.
Let's not digress. But that's
All
not the
these
subject.
things are red herring
That's not the
arguments.
subject for
Please.
today, right?
Oh, you can't say that. You can't.
Let's not digress. You know, so yeah, you were making a point. I mean, the point really is that the new majority leader is calling on the minority caucus to strengthen its bipartisan efforts so that you guys can work together. Allowing him that is good for parliament, is good for democracy. But some of your people think that allowing him that will not be good for your party's chances in the next election. You are faced with a situation where you have to contribute to national development and growth of parliament against something that may not be in the interest of a party winning power. Where is the minority going to stand?
Well, the minority will stand for Ghana, will not allow anything being swept through Parliament and use the Parliament stamp to, to put on it and declare it legal when we know that it is not in the interest of the people of Ghana. We will fight to make sure the right things are done. If things are coming up and they are to the general interest of the people, we will always support it. In fact, we have supported them many more times than we have opposed them. And it is normally the nature of how Parliament runs. Normally, you don't want to be seen fighting against the good things government is doing. But every single thing that comes, and you cannot understand the value of it to the people of Ghana, you can expect the minority to stand against it. But what the minority leader was saying is that in those issues that culminates into the creation of value for the people of Ghana, into not creating issues about corruption, issues about mismanagement of the economy and all that, we will always go along with them. And that's bipartisan issues that will not bring the kind of rancor and disagreement you will find. Yeah, we are encouraging them to do that.
Very well.
In fact, we are encouraging them to let it sip through their whole governance process. We don't want those kind of scandals every single day. From the word go, when the president was accused of mimicking the speeches of presidents, the U.S. presidents, up to date, there's no a month that will pass without a scandal coming. We don't want those scandals.
But I'm not sure in January or February we've had scandals. But that's fine. That's fine. Let me do a quick interview. One of the new...
No, what he's saying is a serious statement.
No, but I've just said...
A member of Parliament.
I've just said that
every month there's a scandal.
And I just said that...
So you ask him, he should give you...
I just said that I don't think that February and January we've had any scandal.
So
it's for him to come back and say...
When you say that, it's like brushing the thing.
No, I said I cannot say...
think. But let him give for the last 6 months, every month. He should give us
so you'll be thinking about it. Let me do a quick interview.
You want us to expose you?
The Honorable Alex Tetteh Jonoboa is one of the new members of the majority bench. He's the second deputy majority whip. He joined us on the line. Congratulations, Honorable. Congratulations on your appointment to the majority bench. It should feel really great and onerous to have this responsibility at this time.
Please, can we?
Yes, I'm congratulating you on your new appointment and saying that it should be an onerous and great opportunity you have to serve your people in this particular position.
First of all, let me thank you very much for the opportunity, and also to thank His Excellency, the President, and all his cabinet ministers and the party in Parliament and all my constituency, as well as my wife, who has been with me all this while, for this opportunity. Like you said, it's an opportunity to serve in Parliament. I've been a constituency chairman for 14 years before becoming an MP for almost 8 years. So to mobilize the party members and the MP. And when I entered Parliament in 2017, I took it upon myself to be doing these things to help the members. So no wonder the members have a confidence on me, and leadership has actually put me in these categories, which I'm glad to serve and serve it well.
I see. But the change in leadership hasn't been received generally by some of your people quite well. In fact, some of the senior members of your party have had issues with the way the process was managed. What is your thinking around how the process has been managed? Honorable, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I know. So I can hear you now.
Okay. Like I'm saying, initially, we all thought that we'll go smoothly, but the process that started initially was not as smooth as we expected. But later, all the parties, the presidency, the National Party, and the caucus, we have a dialogue and a lot of consultation. And yesterday, we arrive at a conclusion that the changes should be actually effected. So we want to use this opportunity to actually apologize to whoever is being hurt. I've learned our lesson, and these mistakes will not. Sure.
Yes, I think those persons will accept your apology. But for those of us watching outside of your setting, we thought that the experience of the NDC about a year ago should have given a party like yours, the opportunity to do better. But we don't appear to be seeing that. A colossus like Osechi Mensah Bonsu being pushed out the way it happened. Of course, he said he resigned. But when you listen to his speech, it did appear that he was pushed to resign, though he said he resigned voluntarily. Now, talk to me about what strategy you have as a new person to bridge the gap that might have developed, between yourselves as a result of this poor management of the process, as you deem that the process itself could have been better managed.
Consultation was done, my brother, from the initial stage, but I think it was not broader like 3 days ago when the presidency, the National Council, the NEC, and the majority side met to iron out whatever happened in the past days. And like I said, we are all one people with one voice, with one common goal, that we are here to serve Ghanaians and to serve the party. And as a new leader or a whip, I believe that we have a yeoman task to perform, and we are going to do it. Leader is here with us this morning at Rock City. We are having a workshop on our new standing orders, and he's here with us, and he's actually happy with the members and others. So we are going to bridge the gap and make sure that we work together to actually help the development of Ghana. So, like I said, all the party members, whatever, one or two, he has been hacked. We apologize for whatever happened, and I think we have to actually bridge the gap and work for Ghanaians.
Well, you being deputy whip now, was this something you expected, something you looked forward to, or it came to you as a total surprise?
It came to me as a total surprise because I was told in the NEC meeting by His Excellency the President that the reason why he has not appointed me as one of the ministers is that he wants me to actually help the party in Parliament. And I was told by the President, so it came to me as a surprise in the presence of my regional chairman and my regional secretary. And I've accepted it. It's a challenge work, but I have to actually work my way out and make sure that the party will unite and make sure whatever business that we need to do in Parliament, we'll do it for the benefit of Ghanaians.
So help me appreciate this. The majority leader outgone says he resigned. How does it work? He resigned to who? Gave a letter of resignation to who? To Speaker, to the party, to the President, to who?
We were called by the President to Jubilee House to have a dialogue with the presidency, the party, and all the stakeholders involved. And actually, after the President's opening remarks, the leader, mounted the podium and said, like whatever happened in 3 days or 4 days, he wants to step down for a new leadership to take over so that he can concentrate on his new role as chairman of the Manifesto Committee. So wholeheartedly, he announced that by yesterday, he brought the letter to Speaker and formally he delivered his speech in Parliament. We all heard it, we all saw it in the television. So I think now the process has ended. What we need to do is that to actually bring all members, including our former leader, together so that we can pursue the government agenda in Parliament.
I see. I want to thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. We know you are at a meeting.
Thank you very much. We are in the workshop, but I have to come out and speak to you.
We are grateful, and we hope that you maintain this relationship with the media. We always want information for the people. Thank you so much for speaking to us. The Honorable Alex Tetteh Jonobua, Member of Parliament for Sefia Kontomra, and now the new second deputy chief whip. This is the big issue on 97.3 Citi FM, on Citi TV, and on our socials. We're looking at the matter of the parliamentary shake-up. Let me take a word from Sami of the Parliamentary Network. it's been a while he actually made a submission. So the matters have actually, come to a head. Osei Mensah Bonsu is gone, etc. What do you think should be on the bucket list of the new administration, Samuel Bin?
Well, there is so much to be done for the last session of this 8th Parliament. The agenda is loaded. Government's business in Parliament is a lot to be executed. It is my hope that, just as they had indicated that as caucus meeting with the various stakeholders, including their party, including the president, they have tried to resolve the matter. They come together to execute the mission in Parliament. The majority caucus needs to be seen as, or the majority in Parliament needs to be seen as one that is continuously reaching out to the minority, trying to come to some understanding and consensus on the work that needs to be done in Parliament. And this being the very final lap of the current Parliament, it becomes even more necessary. Many have extolled the virtues of the Honorable Member for Futu, the Honorable Majority Leader, Afenyo Makint, and have indicated some of the positives that he brings to the ticket or to the new position. And I think it's something that I can also attest to. This is someone who you could see clearly wants to reach out, wants to help build consensus and what have you. We hope that he would better exhibit these qualities in the new role. He is also supported by, and you spoke about the Deputy Majority Leader a while back. By far, and if my records are right, she's the longest serving female member of Parliament presently in the current Parliament. And, it is also very, very important to celebrate some of these, achievements. Sometimes we tend to focus too much on our male counterparts where the records are almost always there. But for a Parliament that has 40 women out of 275, to have one who has, served multiple terms, I think she's in her 4th term, if I'm not mistaken, having won her primaries, it leads her into a possible next term, particularly also looking at the constituency she is contesting from. It is hoped that they would, join their energies together, their skills and abilities together with the other members of the caucus who are already experienced, the chief whip, the deputy whip, first deputy whip, already experienced, to be able to lead the majority caucus and lead it well, because they have the primary responsibility towards ensuring that they are executing government business in Parliament. And government business is our business, it's everybody's business. And if they do it right, just like the minority keeps saying, if it is in the interest of the Ghanaian people, they certainly will be able to get the buy-in and support of the Ghanaian people to execute. It's going to be a challenging period. Parliament has new standing orders. It's the very final year of the final of the 8th Parliament. The numbers are still close. People have lost their elections at the party primaries level. The enthusiasm is low. All of these dynamics needs to come into play to ensure that we are getting better at the work that Parliament delivers for the good people of Ghana.
I see. Talk to me about the parliamentary network's view on the role of the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. Now, we thought that the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs' role was bundled into one with that of the majority leader, but it's not the case. So as we speak, Osei continues to be the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, whilst the majority leader is in somebody else. Is that going to create any difficulty if it is not changed soon along the way?
Well, recall that the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs is one of the specialized ministries that was set up by an act of Parliament, Act 460, the Parliamentary Service Act. And in some instances, since 1993, the ministry has actually been active until 2009, when the ministry was kind of dissolved or stood down. And then, of course, with the coming into force of the NPP, again, the ministry was brought back. It is also instructive to know that if my records are right, the ministry has a charter, And that particular charter, if I'm not mistaken, and these are some of the things that we need to check up on. If my records are right, the charter vests the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs in the majority leader. And so I'm not too sure how this plays out with Mr. Chiemensah keeping the ministerial role and not being the majority leader. I think it is a matter that we may probably have to find some better clarity on whether or not the charter speaks to the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs being directly the majority leader, or the charter to the ministry is to be amended to allow for a special case like this particular instance. It is something that we need to find clarity on, and we need some explanations, particularly from the presidency that created that ministry or has created that, reintroduced that ministry since 2017.
I see. Great. Let me speak to the Honorable Yao Boabin Asamoah, who is a senior strategist with the Movement for Change. He's been in Parliament, he's been at the leadership level of the New Patriotic Party, and now he's in the Movement for Change. Yao Boabin Asamoah, welcome to the program. The issues in Parliament, the parliamentary front bench, certainly should be concerning to you as a former MP, a former, executive of the party, at least at the functional level, I think, and somebody in leadership role also in a new political movement. Honorable Yao Boabin Asamoah. Hello. So you kindly unmute. Let's see. I'm sure you've muted yourself. All right. Honorable Yao Boabin Asamoah is a senior strategist with the Movement for Change, Alan Kyerematen's political movement. He's been a former member of Parliament, or he's been a member of Parliament for Adenta, serving a term. After that, he became the Director of Communications of the New Patriotic Party. Soon after he stepped down from that position, he took up a role in the Alan Kyerematen campaign team as a Director of Communications of that team. And then now he is a senior strategist with the Movement for Change, a movement Alan Kyerematen formed soon after bowing out of the MPP race, claiming that the race was skewed to favor Alan Kyerematen. Boabin Asamoah, can you hear me? Oh, we're having difficulties with Boabin Asamoah. We'll take a short break. We'll return and try that again and possibly move on to some other issue. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the big issue. My guest this morning, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, Member of Parliament for West Central, Fred Thompson, former DMD for NIB and member of the MPP communications team, Samuel being Executive Director of the Parliamentary Network Africa, Franklin Kujo, President, Imani Africa. And we've been trying to reach Boabin Asamoah, but that's been quite difficult, who is a senior strategist with the Movement for Change. And we'll still try and see what we can glean from him for this discussion. In the meantime, your comments are welcome via our WhatsApp line, 0204447033. This one coming through from Jones Adoboinla says, good morning, Selam. Change in itself has no effect until the attitude of the people change. This is the same government that messed up the economy. Ghanaians today are worse off than ever. Freshly in our minds is the almighty haircut and other cruel economic measures taken by this incompetent government, you say, which is seeking to cause us more pain. No way, you say. So Ghanaians are not angry enough. That is from Jones Doughboy. I'll take time to read a few of the other comments that have that have come through. Honorable Boabin Asamoah, are you there? Can you hear me now? We don't seem to have Honorable Boabin Asamoah on the line. But frankly, let me take your quick thoughts on this. This whole issue about Osei Mensah Bonsu being taken up because he has to concentrate on the manifesto committee and all of that. Do you find that as a a good enough reason, or you think it's just something they were throwing in? Because some have thought that, of course, you can marry the two positions. You can be majority leader and still be chairman of the manifesto committee. What do you think?
Well, I think that's an afterthought, and I do not really see how being chairman of the manifesto committee, that's it's a daily job. In any case, the committees would have to go and work on the sub sectors, and then at some point meet and then deliberate. So it's not as if every day you'll be catering to the committee anyway. He's not going to be a chaperone for a committee. It's not like going to be a school teacher for toddlers in a school. So I don't really understand where that is coming from, really. I think it's a lame excuse, really. Very lame.
I see. All right. So we want to now shift to the campaign team proper. That's the second leg of our discussion. Unless, of course, your final words on this, Honorable Rashid Popu.
Yeah. Final words is that a transition has taken place. Chairman, sir, I'm happy that the public understands the work he did, and are appreciating it. And for me, it's important that people are appreciated in their lifetime. This is a clear example of it. As he exits, some are angry, some are happy, but essentially it has demonstrated strongly that this is a man we can stand up to and say he has done his work. And let every Ghanaian see himself in whatever endeavor you find yourself, to demonstrate to the fullest that you can support work for Ghana as much as you can. The people are watching, and they will tell the story long after you are gone. Even in his lifetime, we are seeing good comments about him, impressive remarks about him. But let it not also be seen to be the fact that his exit means that Parliament will not go on the way it is. We have a new majority leader who is coming. I like to see young people demonstrate leadership, and I'm seeing Afenyo Markins as one example of a young man who can stand up to the job. And we hope that he will work closely with us and achieve the best for Ghana. But the signal we are also sending to them is that we won't tolerate any such policies or programs brought before us in the form of seeking legal instruments to back a policy that will not reflect the wishes of the people of Ghana. We would continue to fight them. We are standing in because Ghanaians have access to do so, and we are preparing the grounds so that eventually there won't be a total loss of our faiths in the daily governance of this country. We have seen real failure in the present administration. We are just hoping that we can still give confidence to the people of Ghana that politics is not all about benefiting oneself. It's more about benefiting the people. Whatever decision you take, the culmination of which will not give total satisfaction to the people, there's a question mark on it. I was talking about scandals every month. I have more than 100 scandals, but we are not discussing them now. So unless you want to give me the opportunity to mention them.
Let's stay on this one. Yeah. But whilst you're talking, it just occurred to me that in the NDC change of leadership, we did not see what we saw yesterday. So, for example, Osei is making a speech or giving a speech, welcoming the new guy, putting him in the seat and all of that. We did not see that. I don't know how
it's an invention. You don't need to do that. You simply need to send a letter to the speaker indicating what you have done. The speaker reads the letter to us, and then the leaders will now comment on the letter. That is the normal thing. It's just this one is invented by the
speaker?
Invented by the leader, Chairman Sir. He has stayed in Parliament for a long time. He's gained a lot of personal experience and can always bring himself ideas to bear on existing precedents. Yeah, so it's not like...
So moving forward, it does appear that this is how it's going to be. The leader is changed, they give a speech, introduce a new person.
If we allow the tradition to continue, it will be like that. But for now, It's like it's a new it's a tradition introduced. Whether we want to still stay in it is another thing. But it is not the responsibility of the leader exiting to introduce the new leader. You don't have to do. It's not necessary. I mean, it's an addition, an unnecessary addition. It has to be done by the speaker. He received the letter. He reads the letter on behalf, on behalf of the members of parliament to the members of parliament, and then he now announces the new leadership, and they take their seats.
Okay, very well. Final words on the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, what he's saying that is a new this thing. You know, it was the speaker who was supposed to read the letter, but he gave the minority leader, the
majority leader,
the chance to, come and do the necessary things, and he did it. It's an innovation.
And it did appear that it was something they had planned because he came with a speech prepared.
Yeah, with a speech prepared. So it's an innovation that is very lovely, and definitely you can trust MPP to always bring new innovations in.
But the speaker has no MPP.
Oh, I'm saying the majority leader.
If the speaker, we don't even know who introduced it. We don't even know who suggested it.
You can lobby behind closed doors.
We don't even know who suggested it.
You lobby behind closed doors.
Speaker might have suggested it to him. That guy,
it's
you've been here for a long time. You are such a
Honorable
big man.
Rashid himself is saying that is nice. I mean, it's.
But we don't know the source. That's what I'm saying.
Don't worry.
Let's not be quick to take credit.
Some of us know the source, but we won't talk.
Very
Don't
well.
worry. About his this thing, so many scandals he's talking about.
I thought you were going to let it slide.
Oh, I won't let it slide. You know, I won't let my brother get away with certain things. You know, the first time he talked so much about things that we had promised and forgot that they had promised so much, even a basic thing like teachers' bungalows that they promised in their manifesto for 2008 and 2012. They couldn't deliver, and they are still promising now. So I don't want to even go there. I'll stay on what I have to do and deliver on what I have to deliver. I'll say kudos to Honorable Chairman Sabonsu. He's done extremely well. He's someone that, in fact, the first time I heard him speak, I asked, where is he coming from? What's his background and everything? At that time, my regional chairman was Bute. And so I asked him, I said, this guy is, Charlie, he's top notch. And he's never disappointed. I mean, from that time till now. And I would say kudos to him. He's done so well. Even the matured way in which he handled all this, it tells you that definitely he has something to offer. You asked the question, and it's very significant that you didn't see the same thing with the NDC. You realize that when they were handing over, they were not happy with how they had been treated. But when we saw that there was a flaw somewhere, we called all parties together, we sat down, we deliberated, and every party saw that, okay, maybe this is the time, this is the need to do ABCD. Everybody brought their point, and we agreed to it. So it tells you that we are ready, and we are ever ready to serve. We are ever ready to change the fortunes of the country. There have been challenges, but we are continuing to make sure that things that had gone wrong will be corrected. We have a country to deliver. We have a service to give, and we are not going to relent on that service. To the new leadership, I'll say kudos to them. The new ones that have come on, Patricia and Alex. We have the old one, that is Alex and what do you call him? Habib. They are already there, and I'm sure they are going to take them through everything to make sure that Parliament is stronger than we can even see it before. I know definitely that Oseche Mensah will give us learned experience to them, and they would pick a lot of things. They should not be the only ones who should learn from him. The others too who are on the bench should be able to get to him, closer to him, and learn from him, because I have learned a lot of things from him. He calls me from time to time that, oh, come over. We sit down, we talk, you learn a lot of things from him, and he's quite good, to say the least. So I wish them all well. Yeah. Together, I know that MPP will succeed as a party.
Very well. So before I go to Samir and Franklin for their final thoughts on this, my producers tell me Yabobian Sama is back on the line. Hello, Yabobian Sama. Welcome to the big issue.
I've been sitting on the fringes struggling to
yes, we've been struggling to hear you. You know, thankfully we have you. So yes, you've been in Parliament. You are now in leadership in another movement, and you've been at some leadership position at the MPP as well. You've been observing the happenings in Parliament. What's your general thinking around the process, its management, timing, etc.?
So let me first greet your panelists who have had a bite before me, and then also greet and congratulate the party leadership in Parliament. In particular, Honorable Chairman Sabonsu. I had honor of serving under him in my brief time in Parliament. I think it's a colossus of parliamentary practice. Now, what is happening, from a governance interest point of view, I think is that it's a convention that is moderating power. Convention being practice and time, which then works on how power works. So in other words, there are events that are beginning to shape how power was exercised in terms of selecting the parliamentary leadership. Everybody is involved, and yet I keep hearing saying the party and all that. In my time, from what I saw, those decisions were either taken or ratified in National Council. The National Council seats the executive, the parliamentary caucus reps, and the party headquarters leadership, including the regional leaderships. So when you say the party taking a decision, it means all the stakeholders in there, including the executive, are at National Council when the decision is taken. The issue, though, is the source of power from within the National Council, which brings forward the proposals for acceptance or rejection. And invariably, that source becomes the executive. And invariably, if the executive is in power, then the National Council will ratify it, whether they're happy or not. Now, what is happening to make these changes count now is that since the election, which ended up at 137 and 137, there is a much more serious accountability quotient for the MPs, particularly those in power, who people want to see do something and yet may not be able to get what they want done, and they are under pressure because they can't even deliver in Parliament because of the hung Parliament. So you saw how that frustration boiled over into some MPs making a demand for the removal of the finance minister. It was a major move, unheard of. It literally was a rebellion of the legislature against the executive in this pact of the National Council that we all sit in and take decisions. So that is where I'm saying that convention, practice, pressure from events is now having a toll on power. So from that time, you realize how the executive then began engaging. So you have a process where you now want to transfer power. And the transfer of power from the president to the flag bearer, new vice president flag bearer, begins to then have stresses because the proposals are done from the source of power, and others are supposed to accept and ratify. And those others now feel empowered enough not to just accept what is told them. But the question is, can they also take away that power solely to themselves and keep it in Parliament? I don't think so. I think the current process for both parties, because the NDC has a functional executive committee and a national executive committee, which also seats all these stakeholders I'm talking about. Presidential candidates, if they are not in power, past presidents, party leadership, parliamentary caucus, they are all seated when they have these decisions. So what should happen is more consultation, which the MPP was doing after the thing blew up. But even the sign of the consultation where they were summoned to Jubilee House still goes to show that they need to do a lot of work to make the source of power realize that they are equal. Because when it comes to the National Council and they are all seated, they should be equal. Proposals should be transparently tabled, engaged on, and decisions taken in a participatory manner. So you are summoned to Jubilee House, and in order to avoid a prolonged crisis, because of his experience and knowledge, Chief Minister was to say, I've terminated the problem. I've resigned. I mean, I don't think he did it willfully. I don't think he did it willingly. That is not the way to bring Chief Minister's career to an end. With 10 months to go to the end of his parliamentary career, he is compelled to resign. He didn't do this willingly. And it's a big flaw. You need to check how power is moderated and shared within and between and amongst the executive, the legislature, and the party leadership.
I see. But what do you think? You said it's not been treated fairly. What do you think might have accounted for this movement or this reshuffle? Because you say he's been a sterling leader, and I mean, you don't change a winning team. What do you think might have accounted for his movement from the front bench?
It's a power transfer gone messy. It's not just Chairman Sabozu. It's a power process that started with the selection of the flag bearer, where the party unwillingly swallowed a process that they knew wasn't appropriate, was designed to lead to only one result. Those stresses came out a bit in what we said and how things happened. But this point now is from that point where there's a choreographed attempt to transfer power in a particular direction. So now you have the flag bearer, and then the next thing is that you want to shape the government in the flag bearer's own image. So finally, the reluctance to have a cabinet reshuffle happens, not necessarily with a view to efficiency for the people, but in order to afford the new flag bearer the opportunity to be more in charge. Then the next thing is Parliament. You want to, because there's so much swirling around the leadership of Chairman Sabonsu and the VP and all manner of things. So you want to also shape that place so that there is no discomfort coming from there as far as the transfer of power is concerned. You know, so the next thing I'm sure is happening is that we may not hear most of it, but there's a lot of changes going on in the public sector and the bodies that have political heads, within the central management agencies and the public sector, business sector and all that. So there are major changes going on, all towards transferring power to the new flag bearer in order for him to succeed at the choreographed attempt to reinstate the regime in power for a third time.
I see. But is there anything wrong with that for a political party? It's a strategy. They have a new leader who leads them into the next election. And if the new leader thinks that there are people who can, better further his cause, and so those people must be in certain positions to help him deliver what the party wants, which is power to them for the third time, that is strategic. Should that be a problem?
In governance terms, it's a study. It's a strategic choice. For example, you are not doing it only for your party. You are doing it for the public who need to vote on the performance of your party. And I'll tell you, yesterday, when the movement for change was touring the markets of Accra, the market women, the back chat was that Nanado Ekisi Alan, into here the Ebetuam Alan, yeah, man, Nanado Ekisi, no. So that process of choreographing the selection of Alhaji Bawumia as the flag bearer of the NPP may be working inside the party where people are mute and would not comment, but has backfired outside the party where discerning voters are discussing it in the context of Nanado having twisted the process and therefore the process not having been fair, and therefore they're not ready to vote for the person Nanado has brought forward. That's what they were saying yesterday, movement for change. I was with Mr. Chematin in Makola, in Okai, and the prevalent tone was that, wait here, Nanado is, so it has repercussions outside. So it's your strategy. You could use it to control your party. You could use it to think that you are enhancing the prospects of your sustained stay in government. But the voters also have a view. And it's democratic participatory. They have view markers. So if you do things that strategically you think benefit your party, and it's an insular process, you're only looking at the benefits within your party, you lose out on the general voter population who may have a different view of what you are doing.
But that should make you and the other opposition parties happy then, because
yesterday I was extremely happy.
If that would backfire,
yesterday I was very, very happy.
Then it shouldn't be a problem to you or to anybody, should it?
Absolutely. I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm analyzing this not from the perception of a problem, but from a governance interest perspective. And I'm saying that last night, after the walk, hearing those things said, I slept like a baby. I was so happy. Because it demonstrates that the decision, the courageous decision Mr. Chemartin took to step out of the twisted rules of engagement and go to the people of Ghana will be vindicated. Because the rules of engagement can be either positively implemented or negatively implemented and still be within the rules. So there's a pretense that things are fair and that the party is going through a selection process, but it is stacked in a particular direction. So you have rules of engagement that are being manipulated, but on the face of it, everything seems formal, legal, and correct. But people read through it. So I am happy that Mr. Chemartin chose the bold political step of withdrawing from that process and going to the people directly. That is his choice. That is his strategy. And I'm telling you that the people are now saying that they have seen through the attempt to choreograph the party's sustainable leadership, and therefore they will not allow and accept that. When they go to take a decision in the general election, they will vote for Alan Chemartin. This is the conversation that was going on in the market yesterday.
I see. That's quite interesting. I mean, just before you go, let me take your view on the campaign team as outdoored by the flag bearer of the MPP. I mean, now it's a marketplace. You guys are fighting for the attention of the customer, the voter. This is a campaign team outdoored by now your opponent, the Bawumia team. What's your thinking around it? You think it's a good team? What do you think?
Because Franklin is on the panel, I'll speak like a civil society person.
And not as a politician?
Not as a politician. I think it's absolutely too large. And it is designed to be an all-inclusive affair, excluding the butterfly movement. The NPP as an institution is more at threat at hemorrhaging people to the NPP, to the butterfly movement, obviously, than the NDC. Though the butterfly is focused on the third, fourth space. So you will notice from this that they are trying to drag everybody in the country based on the butterfly movement inclusivity approach. They are trying to bring everybody on board their campaign so that there will be nobody left to work with anybody. But it's unwieldy. Decision making will be troublesome, and I don't see the efficiency, literally, the utility of having hundreds of people try and work on one document, if it really is about the document. This is not about the document. This is about trawler fishing. That net, what do they call it? The band net. Hello?
Yes. Say that again.
The Fisheries Ministry has a ban on a type of net that they say picks all the fish from the sea bottom. What is that net called? The trawler fishing, they use it. This is that approach.
Yes.
They are trying to troll everybody inside onto their side by mentioning their names. They are not expecting those people to do much. They just want to send a signal that the MPP is big, the MPP is united, and that anybody outside that MPP is not a threat. My brother, they are struggling.
I see. Very well. Thank you so much for your time, Bawumia Samoa. Thanks so much for making time to speak to us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so Bawumia Samoa is a campaign strategist for the Movement for Change. He spoke to us on the matters happening in Parliament. He's been in Parliament as well. All right, so Samuel, your final words on this particular segment of our discussion.
Well, certainly, as some of the previous speakers have said, some of us would have wished that the end of the leadership of Chairman Zabonsu, as someone who has since 1997, like I indicated, served in one way or the other in leadership within the caucus the longest serving, 2 terms minority leader, almost 2 terms majority leader, have been whip, deputy whip, deputy leader, and all of that. I think he holds a wealth of experience and knowledge in parliamentary work that certainly needs to be tapped into. It is our hope that the new leadership will tap into it. Parliament of Ghana itself, needs him very, very much, especially in this final lap of the work of the 8th Parliament. And those of us who watch Parliament a lot know the contribution of Chief Mensa Bonsu in all of this. It is our hope that all of these stakeholders will make the best of him for these remaining 10 or so months before the Parliament of Ghana dissolves, for the 8th Parliament to give way to the 9th Parliament, which he is not going to be a part of. And we can only wish the new leadership of the Majority Caucus the very best in their endeavors in leading a caucus in such difficult times. We hope that both the Majority and Minority Caucus would always in their engagement put the people of Ghana and the interest of Ghana first in legislation, in oversight, in representing the people, in exercising their power of the purse functions, among others.
Very well. Thanks so much, Samuel Obin, for speaking to us and joining us today for the show. We're grateful. We'll speak again some other time. Have a good morning. All right, Franklin, what's your final take on the discussion?
It wouldn't depart significantly from Sami's concluding remarks, really. I think, for me, it's business as usual, and I think that this new crop of leaders must ensure fidelity to the rules of prudence in managing our money very well, because we don't have enough, and already we are in a debt exchange, we are in a hole. I think that the leadership must be interested in making sure that whatever bills, whatever decisions are taken, especially in executing this election, must not lead us to further, damage of the economy. Because as we speak now, we are in a serious hole, and at the least they can do is to ensure that decisions that are brought forward, especially from the executive, are in the best interest of the country, and wouldn't lead to any spending that would worry the future leadership in this country.
I see. Great. All right. So now let's move to the next matter, which is the campaign team of Baumia. I'll start with Alfred. Alfred, this is quite an interesting team, which has who should start? No, it's your team. So it's quite an interesting team. We have a campaign advisory committee, we have the campaign operations, we have the campaign strategy, we have the campaign management, we have electoral affairs, and we have senior campaign aides, and all of that, as you can see on your screen. Campaign communications directorate, research directorate, finance and fundraising, legal directorate, diplomatic liaison, and all of that. This is quite a huge team, as many have said. Must you necessarily name persons like Nana Akufo-Addo as an advisory committee member, John Kufuor as an advisory committee member, etc., to make them advise or make them, join the campaign? In any case, it's in their interest for the party to win, and must you name them as part of the team necessarily?
So when you look at the advisory team, whilst we were even working, people were trying to create a wedge. In fact, with the policy statements that Dr. read out, his first policy statement, they were trying to create a wedge between him and the president, his boss, that, they are not getting along. That's why he came to hit him that, listen, when I am elected president, I'll reduce the tax and also take digital tax off. Because I want to spread the digitalization better and make it cheaper for most people to do, especially the e-levy. So they were using that as then it means that either he doesn't listen to him or he's not working hand in hand with him. But he's defeated their purpose by even showing them that, listen, we work together. We are a team. Whether we're having challenges or not, I accept them that we are in it together. And I am not going to work in isolation. I'm going to build upon whatever my predecessor has done. Because we cannot, or we will not sit here and tell you that, oh, definitely once the team has been formed or once doctor is working and he's in charge, it means that if someone is giving you an idea or is advising you on certain things that, oh, I think if you don't go towards this direction, it will help you, he will not listen. He has the listening ear of everyone. When you look at the advisory team, you realize we have Dr. Reverend Ms. Joyce Ayi of the PNDC fame. She once used to be an education minister, an information minister, a minister for local government within the PNDC time. So it tells you that Doctor has well planned this to bring a group of people together.
No, but that was in the PNDC era, and so she's long since severed ties with the PNDC. So. And she's been with you.
Yeah.
So
not with us in say she's never.
No, but she serves on the National Cathedral, but
that's the only thing. That's the only thing she's
I'm sure she's
on.
at VRA or something.
No,
she's at a few other places. No.
And she's just on the National Cathedral.
Okay, and then she's
been working on her site, salt and
yeah, of course.
Ministry.
And we understand she was on the 2020 or so. Campaign team as well. So this is
campaign.
Not novel. I'm in a similar role.
Go and check the campaign team. She wasn't on the 2020 campaign.
But the point I'm trying to make is that she may not necessarily.
What I'm saying is that
be from the PNDC, yes, even though she used to be there. But for a very long time,
you're in the PNDC.
But Kufuor himself was in the PNDC.
Yeah.
So did that make him any different?
But what I'm saying is that we are bringing people from all walks of life who have ideas, who have knowledge, to come and be as advisors. They are not the drivers.
Directly, maybe from the NDC, then that's different. PNDC was an amalgamation of a lot of people, including the former president himself.
Agreed.
So
it doesn't matter.
And then it's been over many years.
It doesn't matter.
And she's moved on and done other things with your side.
Is Boabina Samoa part of the MPP NDC campaign team?
No, he belongs to a different movement.
Thank you. So it tells you that
but is he part of the campaign team? He's not.
We are working. Whether if we feel that we should invite you and we call you and you say you do it, we'll work with you. If Boabia Samoa today, we call him and he says he wants to work with us, we'll work with him. Why not? Because we are bringing everybody on board to bring your knowledge to bear on the lives of Ghanaians. It's about transforming Ghana. It's not about individual requests. It's not about individuals doing anything. It's about bringing people on board. And these are advisors. They are going to, it's like taking a CEO and a board of directors of a company. They would advise you on how to move, but the daily affairs, the running of the country will be the prerogative of the president. And that's going to be Dr. Bawumia. Then you come to his campaign team. You have a seasoned politician, a former general secretary, a former information minister, a former, and now a former local government minister, Kweku Dambotre.
Okay.
Seasoned. He knows how to dribble, he knows how to turn tides around, he knows how to work hard.
Because he's
a campaign chairman and strategist.
How about Bawumia? Because Bawumia said he chairs the campaign.
He is the campaign chairman and strategist.
Okay, so what's the difference? Bawumia chairs the campaign.
Bawumia is a candidate.
Okay, but he said he chairs the team.
Co-chairman.
He chairs it with his running mate. That's what he said. He chairs it with the running mate.
He has a co-chairman.
Yeah, who is a running mate?
No, which has not been taken yet.
No, but I said the two of them.
He hasn't taken yet.
Yeah, but
he hasn't taken
that position is reserved for the running mate.
He's giving my senior man a strategist role. And also, sometimes, when the campaign, as a campaign chairman...
Look at it. So the National Campaign Coordinating Committee shall oversee the work of all other committees. I mean, it shall be chaired by the 2024 presidential candidate and assisted by the vice presidential candidate.
Okay.
So the national chairman, general secretary, and the regional chairperson shall also serve on the National Campaign Coordinating Committee. So Bawumia and his running mate, who he is here to announce, will chair the team.
And then what does he say on the...
No, they didn't say the title of campaign chairman and strategist. And now, so that Dambotre, into bracket chairman, Frederick Owari, deputy, Nana Kumia, deputy. So clarify that.
Now, when you are on the road and you are working, a team still has to work. Your vice president may be your candidate, vice presidential candidate will be somewhere in the Western region. You will be somewhere in the Volta region or maybe Western. But you need your team to work. Now, if you are not there, who can sit best for you? He's taking someone who will be in his stead when he's not around.
So Damboche is waiting on the
he's
sidelines.
a strategist. He's a strategist. That's the most important thing, being a strategist. And also, when he's not around, he can do certain things for him.
So Damboche is waiting. I mean, he's on the sideline like a reserve to
Bawumia you can call it. Well, you can call it what, you can call it the name you want to. But what he's looking at is that when he's not around, business should go on. Certain decisions should be taken. Certain strategy can be worked on. And then the person he needs to do that is Honorable Damboche and his two deputies.
So that is to mean that Damboche will always be around. He won't be at the other places, like you said.
Oh, he can be in Eastern Region. He can be in Western, depending on what work you want him to do.
I see. So
then we have the campaign team itself.
The campaign manager.
The manager and his team, made up of Honorable Parliamentary. He used to be the campaign manager, I think, in the last election for Alan Chairman thing. He's been on board. In fact, in this last election, he played a very pivotal role in making sure that Dr. Bawumia was elected as the candidate for MPP, whether Boabina Sama will see it as coerced or whatever it is. We believe that the people of MPP, they've spoken, and they've spoken clearly and decisively that this is the leader they want. We believe that Ghanaians will do same at the right time. But he's taken him, he has a wealth of knowledge. I've sat in various meetings with him, and I'm still learning a lot from him. When you sit down with him, you can learn so much from his experience, one as a former MP and also being in a campaign team, and how he executes things. It's very innovative and very very lucrative for you to learn from it. And he has about, I think, 6 or so of
three deputies. Dr.
Antoinette, who is the current Deputy General Secretary of the party, and also
Director of Dankwa Institute?
No, she's not a director of Dankwa Institute.
No, she's the boss at Dankwa Institute.
No.
Really?
We have a new director.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So she used to be the boss at Dankwa Institute?
she used to be.
Okay. Yeah. And then Honorable Obiamwa. So the lady, Dr. Antoinette Chibudakun, is deputy in charge of research and administration of the campaign. Honorable Obiamwa is deputy in charge of the parliamentary campaign. What does that mean?
You know,
parliamentary campaign.
We are running a presidential and a parliamentary campaign. They are not the same. Now, we need to make sure that we get a lot of seats in parliament. You need to get majority. Now, if you put Obiamwa there, who is no longer running for parliament, and with his wealth of experience within parliament, he's going to make sure that we work within our framework to win more seats in parliament for us. And that's his duty. So he will be reporting to the campaign team every now and then, telling them what is going on. Maybe we have to up our game here. Here is not good for us. Let's look at this place well, to make sure that at the end of it all, we get more seats in parliament. So that is his work cut out for him.
I see. Dr. Ibrahim Anyas is deputy in charge of the presidential campaign. Ibrahim Anyas is or was the boss at NAPCO. I'm saying is or was because I don't know the status of NAPCO now. So.
I also cannot tell you the status now. I don't know.
So I don't know that is or was.
But you can do is/stroke was. It doesn't matter.
So he is to oversee the presidential campaign as deputy.
Once he's moving around.
Okay.
But when you look at the people he's named there, seriously speaking, I think it's a good team. It's a solid team that he's carefully chosen them. That doesn't mean that all those around are not working. All the people around him are still working on various sectors and various things within their constituency, because elections are won at the polling station. So within the constituency and within the polling stations, there are going to be people who are going to really work there and make sure that we win elections there. So I would say that even though you have this list here, everybody is involved in making sure that NPP wins the 2024 elections. It's about working on the ground, not about castigating people and insulting people left, right, center, forward, as my opponents are doing. But to focus and to make sure that we win the election and win it convincingly. I believe that, inshallah, with God being on our side, on the 8th of November, or latest by the 9th of November, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will win by 51%. And be nominated as, or be sworn in as the next president of this country, because of his focus, his drive, his humility, his delivery, because he's someone that when you give him some work to do, he is always humble to do it. He has a listening ear. He listens to others. He brings everybody on board. He is not discriminatory. He is not the type of person you can say that he looks down on others. So he stated in his policy thing, you realize that he stated there that he believes in giving everybody the chance. He believes in giving the person, a sweeper, a taxi driver, whoever it is, the chance. Because the moment you give the person the chance, the person can become like him. He got the chance. He got the
taxi driver and all of that.
Oh yes, he's gone through that route before. And today, look at him as a presidential candidate of a noble party like NPP. So it tells you that when you give someone the chance, they would do well and they will do it so diligently. He's named his team. We are going to work together. We are going to make sure that they deliver. Everybody would run and make sure that they are delivering on their or the mandates that they've been given. Then we move on to the next level. I think I'll pause here for others to come in.
So I wanted to find out what the relationship is between Dr. Bawumia and the persons he ran with. Of course, I see two of them here. I see Kwabena J. Ejepong here. And I think Nana Poku
is there.
Yeah.
Yes.
What happened to the rest?
Akoto is serving somewhere.
Ifri Akoto's name is not here.
I don't think he's here, but I think he's serving somewhere on this
what's
committee.
Happened to the rest of them?
Adai Nimo is there. When you look at Agric and the Agric Manifesto, Opon is the manager to Kennedy Ejepong, who is serving there as the chairman of the Agric committee for the manifesto. So everybody has some role they are playing. He's working with them. To tell you the truth, when he finished his elections, he's gone to everybody to seek their support and their help, to work with him to make sure that this thing becomes a reality. And everyone is convinced that, yes, he's won convincingly. Let's work with him to make sure that at the end of it all, we win this election. Because it's not about me, Alfred Thompson, it's not about Dr. Bawumia, it's not about you as an individual, it's about how we can move this country forward collectively. We are not looking at the past and what someone says, I've learned from my mistakes and coming to do this thing. Yes, mistakes are being repeated. It's about getting a future and having a focus. What do we need for the future? Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? These are the people we are working in now to draft a manifesto. We are putting it together. They said they should look through the 2016 manifesto, the 2020 manifesto, and also make sure that everything that you haven't done there, we have it in our 2024 manifesto.
Things you have not done in the past.
We've reached somewhere. You have to check. You have to ask yourself, why didn't I meet this obligation? What is the problem?
So the issues about the concrete roads.
Yes, can it be met and everything? Now, when you listen to his policy statement, he talked about roads. And he said that it's going to be a PPP. So that government will not vote so much money, put it down that, okay, these are the monies I'm going to use for roads. But you get the roads being done and told, government will even get a percentage of the toll that will give us income to do other sectors.
It's easier said than done. We've heard this tolling of those things before. I mean, but the last time we heard of it, the toll booths where the whole toll idea was discarded and all of that. And the PWDs who were working in the toll booths those times are now up in arm against government.
But now some of them have gotten jobs to do under the YEA.
No, we spoke to them yesterday. They said it's not true. What the YEA did was to call a few of them, less than 90 of them, for an interview. The day they made the announcement.
How many of them?
They are about over 200 and something. But
it's in phases.
No, but the YEA shouldn't say that they've given them jobs. When you call them on the same day you were making the announcement just for interview. So it did appear that the YEA was, because they knew they were going to make this announcement, they just called them for interview. If you interview somebody, you've not employed the person. So I think that's an issue.
Once they
spoke to the guy yesterday.
But did you speak to YEA?
No, YEA will not talk. YEA will not talk.
They told you that they are not going to talk.
Yes,
that's what
YEA will not speak. But the persons you said you've given the job to, the persons you said you've given the job to,
once they've announced it, once they've announced it, definitely they are going to give them.
No, but you announced it before. You give the job to the people. I mean,
I tell you that. Listen,
and you say you've given them the job.
I'm giving,
and everyone say no.
I've interviewed you, and I've announced that I'm giving you a job.
What is giving me a job?
What does it mean?
But how do you give me a job? You give me a job when you have given me the job.
Yes,
you don't give me a job.
The people,
you go announce it, they keep quiet. No.
The people will have to go through an orientation.
But you've not given them the job.
No, they'll go through an
orientation is when you have the job and you are being onboarded.
Yes.
But you don't have the job.
Let's see this week whether they will
not
be given
Monday,
the jobs.
They won't go to work.
Let's see whether this week they wouldn't have jobs to do.
No, but the point is, do you announce it before you give them the job?
Whether you announce it before you do that also.
Listen, things must be done right.
Things
must be done right. This is not a discussion.
You are looking at it. No, you are looking at it in another context. But what I'm telling you is that if they've announced it, they will do it. So let's focus.
We've announced a lot of things we have not done.
And I'm telling you that whatever we have not done, we are looking at it and we are looking at the challenges that came in, why we haven't done them, and why we need to continue with it. Someone will tell you, I'm going to in 2008 and repeated in 2016, and it's repeating it now again that when I come, I'll give teachers what do you call it, accommodation.
But is it good?
Teachers' accommodation. Who doesn't want accommodation?
The recycling the promises given to the same people for the same purpose.
Teachers' accommodation. Why don't you want it?
What I mean is,
they promise. What do you call it? They promise assemblymen pay. They couldn't do it for 4 years. They couldn't even give assemblymen motors. That's the only, under this Fourth Republic, that's the only time that assembly members never got even a motorcycle to use. But they tell us that, when we come, we are going to pay assembly members. It's up to the person and where you are going to raise the money from. But we are going to make sure that every promise you are given or everything in our manifesto, we are going to give it out.
Very well. But the disabled people deal with it.
No, we'll deal with it. It's something that once you phrase it, I'll note it down.
Okay, sure.
And I'll find out from the CEO and get back to you on it.
Thank you very much. Very interesting team. A lot of other people with various experiences. The Bawumia team appears to be hitting the ground running. John Mahama has been around for a while, a year and a half or so since he was elected. But I'm not sure he has a campaign team on the ground as announced.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in the kitchen.
First of all, it's about Bawumia's campaign team, what we are going to say about it. And I think it was inspired by fear. Yeah.
Fear?
Fear. And can't afford not to have the former president's mentioned in his campaign team. Under normal circumstances, these people, you don't even mention them. Whether you like it or not, they are advisory. They are statesmen. They have gone beyond politics when they leave job. So you don't pull them back into the political fray and give them an impression, give the public an impression that I'm with them. When they finish their job, every Ghanaian is for them. Well, so that's why I'm saying, for fear of standing alone and the fear that he's actually losing, he's still trying to have that cloud around him. But I listened to you yesterday when you were interviewing somebody who was saying that.
I think it's called Duncan. The disabled told people association.
No, Duncan, somebody who was insisting that Bawumia is not his own man and that.
Oh, okay, that was Dr. Richard Amakuba.
I listened to him and I think that for a very good reason I accept part of his argument. If Bawumia was the same man he tells everybody he is, look, the campaign team is made up of an advisory committee. He started his campaign by giving the impression that, well, this is the first time a northern person is leading an MPP regime. So let me have the chance. Then he went on to say, talk to Muslims and said, look, these are my people. If nothing at all, you've not got a Muslim to become it. Ask me, or I'm asking you, I look at the campaign and I listened to him when he said that Bawumia believes in giving...
what Richard Amakuba said was that, it may not be his team because a lot of the people were from Eastern region.
Let me also say, I'm coming.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I accept part of his argument. Look at what Alfred, who they have ignored, and they shouldn't have ignored him as a member of the...
the role I'm playing.
He should have been in the campaign team.
I don't need to be named. No, I don't need to be
Please.
named.
He said that he believes that Bawumia is giving chance to everybody. Look at the team. First part of the team, I have not seen any of the persons from the region he says, I'm from there, vote for me. I have not seen one single person there. Look at the second. the campaign operations, that one, well, you don't see anybody there like that from his Muslim brothers and from his northern brothers. Then you come to the campaign chairman and strategies, all of them from Eastern region, none of them from his own. So it's like when it comes to the deputy, the first mention of a person is Ibrahim Anyas, who is a deputy. That's the third group of people. And then subsequently, you see one person from the north or something, and then you go on. I mean, so what does it mean by saying he's giving everybody a chance in his campaign team?
So the Northerners are there, the Muslims are there.
Thank you.
Oh, the Anyas is there. There's Said.
Listen to me. You were not listening.
No, I was listening.
You were not listening.
I'm saying that. That's how he started his campaign.
I heard you responding to the doctor that way, and I think that the doctor, his point he made was not clear in your mind. You have the campaign management. You have the campaign advisory committee.
Yes.
Even somebody from your hometown to advise you is not part of it. 5 northern regions, none is part of it. You come to
they're all members of the National Council of Elders.
Thank you.
The Council of Elders, some of them are from.
These are bulk. It means that the single persons he has chosen, this is a bulk. It means that they will meet. Whatever the advisory team will meet, they'll come and give it to him. It's not like one person. Don't you think that there was a need for him to have?
When they mention the name, that one person will meet in one-on-one.
Don't you
think that there was a need, following doctor's argument, for if he were his own man, I'm sure he would have done something like that.
That he would have put only his people, a lot of his people.
Nobody's saying only. Why are you saying that?
A lot of his people.
Nobody's saying that. I'm saying even one. I didn't say all his people.
Why is there?
Even one. When the doctor was saying that, that's why I said you didn't seem to understand him well. If he were his own man, at least, okay, let me mention one person here, at least, who is a Muslim, something, because I'm campaigning on the grounds that I'm one of them and I'm the only person.
But is that really the fulcrum of his campaign? It just adds to it. That he's from the north. And
I am saying that when the doctor argued that he wasn't his own man, there's reason for that. And what the things he was pointing out are what I'm repeating. And I think that if you look at the campaign team, I'm saying that it is only when it comes to campaign management that you have Ibrahim Anyas coming in. Then subsequently you see a few others coming in.
You don't see Salifu Said there.
That's for the senior campaign.
Those are the big things. I'm talking about the big things that he mentioned. At least he should demonstrate that these are people who I'm representing. In fact, he himself has said that
maybe what he
is
wants
the only
to do
person.
Is to see maybe Alaji all over the place.
So finance and fundraising, a major part of the campaign. Dr.
Alulu
Mutaka is there. Finance, money.
He's there.
The person who is controlling your finances.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying nobody is mentioned there.
But there are not many.
Nobody's, not even the fact that there are not many.
Names there.
Not even the fact that there are not many. I'm saying, look, you have, let me repeat it and I'll repeat it again after. You have a campaign advisory board, not one. You go to campaign operations, not one. You go to campaign chairman and strategies, not one. And I'm saying that for the first 3, you don't demonstrate that you really want to be seen representing a people.
And you responded National Council
but
of Elders.
I acknowledge the fact that there are other names there. And I even mentioned Anas, who appeared to be a deputy in the campaign management. You see? And then subsequently you have 1, 2 people around.
But in the National Council, you have about 4 different
Muslims. The National Council represents a bulk.
No, but they are all advisors.
Yes, but it's okay. Just go ahead.
You don't need to mention their names individually.
No, they said the National Council. It means that whatever the National Council ideas will come, you will take it.
It says all members.
Yes, all members.
So when you are going to meet your advisory team, they are part of it.
So in other words, what I'm saying is this, that he doesn't. I agree with
Dr. Amakuba.
Dr. Bako.
Amakuba, that he is not his own man.
Yes, that
because a lot of his people are not in his own campaign team.
The people he works with, the people he says he's representing.
But so
he doesn't recognize
who does he work with that you think should be in this list?
No. I don't have to tell him. But I think that he has disappointed the many people who he is saying he's representing. But let me also come to the totality of the campaign team. I don't know what they are going to tell Ghanaians as a team, unless they want to tell lies. That Bawumia is a good man, Bawumia is a success, Bawumia has done well. Because I don't know what he has done for anybody to campaign with. He has been mentioning digitization.
Yes.
Digitization is not his baby.
But he gave it impetus, he gave it drive.
It's just simply he talks about it.
Seen how he's moving
Who did the fiber, the national fiber?
How many did you do?
Network. It's our team that did it. It's John Mahama who did it. Who digitized the passport? Who digitized the national insurance? It's just that he talks. The real work was done by John Mahama, but he now gives it so much
visibility.
He keeps talking about it and attributing everything to himself. I listened to you when you took somebody on. He talked about it, and then eventually you asked him. I don't know whether you were the one. Yeah, I think you were the one.
On which issue?
You asked the person about another program and communication. You say, okay, if this is what is work, what is his work? What does he do in that? Nothing. It has, the digitization has a ministry. Does Bawumia work in the ministry? He said no. So what is it that he does that you say he's in charge of it? They say, when they finish, they bring it to him. So then he doesn't lead it then. He's not the chief idea. He doesn't make the ideas. He always simply talks about it. So I don't know what he does that he keeps telling himself digitization. Because the whole foundation of digitization was laid by John Mahama. The whole foundation. And he started digitizing, even the contract that did this Ghana card, the company that is doing it, it was the baby of the NDC. So what is it that he's talking about? That it is his achievement. So I don't know what how the team is going to sell him. And I think that the team should be fair to itself, let Ghanaians know they have failed, and that they are thinking about some future, not this immediate future. Because in this immediate future, these are noble men who are members of the campaign team. I respect President Kufuor a lot, and they can talk about a certain future, not just this immediate. Because you can't use Bawumia's campaign success to do any campaign at all.
I see.
You can, and Nana Ado's failure is a ring bell. I mean, it's ringing everywhere else in Africa that he has failed Ghanaians. And if we want to use his resource or his success, it will be a disaster.
But the point you make, I mean, there are people who don't agree with you. So, for example, someone is asking whether we select tribal men or men of competence to lead campaigns like that.
Thank you.
So the fact that Bawumia may be campaigning or may say
you
that
are saying that there are no competent men
as part of what he brings to the table,
is he saying,
national inclusion and everything.
The whole Ghana, it's even more insulting to say that in the 5 northern regions, you can't have a single person who can join his advisory team.
That's not what the person says.
But that's what he's saying. I'm not also saying he should go do.
That's what you are saying.
No, please.
So, but I see, if everybody will use his kinsmen, then that will be a problem.
It's a wrong thing you are saying. Nobody is saying he should use his kinsmen.
But because he has said that he represents a certain group.
No,
so a lot of those people should.
Nobody says a lot. Please don't misquote me.
Okay.
Bawumia, in many of his campaigns, gave private an impression that because he's a Muslim, he expects Muslims to vote for him. Now he's also saying, I'm the only Northerner who has ever taken this position. And I'm asking, as referenced by Dr. Amako, that if he were his own man, I'm supporting Amwako, that if actually Bawumia was his own man, he could reflect it in the choice of his campaign team. There are a lot of other competent people he could have fallen into. But this thing was constructed by somebody else.
And
it wasn't constructed by him.
To run with. I see.
And then he's using it to run with. For me, that is not a person you can trust to be a president. A president should be committed, should have his own say, should be able to touch everywhere. And I like it when he said he's going to give chance to everybody. Now, give chance to everybody. If he fails to give chance to everybody, it's not reflecting his ability of being his own person. That's the impression I have.
I see. I'll take a short break. Franklin Cudjoe, I'm sure, is itching to weigh in on the discussion. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll hear from Franklin Cudjoe, and then we'll wrap up. Don't go away.
Citi TV is live on DSTV. Find us on channel 363. On GoTV, we're on channel 117. And on HD Plus, get us on channel 108. On a digital TV, run a new search. But take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Citi TV. Citi TV can be accessed on any free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and HD Plus boxes. Citi TV, it's your world.
All right, welcome back to the big issue. My name is Selam Adun. My guest helping us deal with the issues, Dr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpu, Member of Parliament for Wales Central, former Deputy Majority Leader, former Minister for Youth and Sports, former Minister of State in charge of PPP. He's done quite a bit in the NDC era, very important person for the NDC, at least in the northern, the Upper West Caucus. Are you the chairman of the caucus?
Yes.
You are the chairman of the Upper West Caucus.
Maybe Dr. Bawumia should elect him as one of the advisors.
Alfred Thompson, former Deputy Managing Director of the NIB,
I like Bawumia.
And also member of the MPP campaign communications team.
Selam, did you hear that?
And also Franklin Cudjoe, President of Imani Africa. These are my guests discussing the matter. Franklin, I don't know what to make about the discussion so far, but in Boabia Sama's comment on this team, he said he was speaking from a civil society point of view. I saw the list. I thought the list was too big, but the explanation I got, the list was huge. The explanation I got was that, of course, it should be representative. There are various interest groups that must be represented and all of that. What do you think? What's your thinking around it? Do you think that explanation makes sense, or you think it could have been smaller? And after all, they are not being paid from the state, so it's their own, time and resources they are using to project and help their own party.
Well, of course, size does matter, and indeed, in this
size does matter, you say?
Well, it does. It does not necessarily mean that the bigger the size, the more effective it is, really. But I think it matters, and especially because, well, you want to hear from as many people as you can, and so in a manifesto is supposed to be some sort of intentions that you have to prosecute an agenda, and indeed, in that spirit, you need to hear from a lot of people. I do not really bother so much about the size of the team, even though I think in this regard, as I said, it's broad, it's consultative, and that's okay. I think we should be concerned about the caliber of advice they'll be giving, and which eventually end up in the manifesto. First of all, they must bring the manifesto in a timely manner, so that we have enough time to interrogate. This habit of politicians waiting until about 2 months or a month of the elections before they collect a wish list, which they then launder and tell us that that's their manifesto, doesn't afford us enough time to interrogate those promises. In any case, we don't wait for them to even collect all those wish lists anyway. As they keep going, they normally be dropping a few highlights of their intentions. Bawumia has done probably 50% of the manifesto already. we now understand the trajectory of his government. He wants to focus on making sure that the private sector is given the pride of place, something that must really be given some real honest look, and rather than the platitudes that most politicians are giving it. I mean, I think this administration started off by suggesting that they were moving from taxation to production, that the private sector is going to be given the pride of place. I think everybody knows what the jury has been, and I'm not too sure we are all happy. But I think now that he wants to make it as the center or the central focus of his campaign, but maybe we should hear him out. And on that regard, we think that we would like to hear exactly what they want to tell, what they want for the country. And don't forget that we are in uncharted waters right now, even though we know where our predicament really lies as we speak. And I think people who want to lead this country must tell us exactly how they are taking us out of the doldrums as we have right now. So I'll be interested to hear what the campaign team would come up with in terms of the manifesto team, right? Would come up with in especially how to take us out of our current predicament. That's what I'll be interested in, really.
The campaign team appears to have a tough one on their hands. I mean, Bawumia being from, the ruling party, normally there's 8 years, they want to break the 8. And the fact that the economic situation has not really been flattering. And he was the guy introduced to us as the one with the expertise for economic transformation. And it hasn't been very good. The excuse is that we've had intervening circumstances or situations. COVID, which was massive global, and then the Russian-Ukraine war. I don't know whether the Israeli-Hamas war is part, but of course, officially the RU war and COVID, those have been very, the two reasons or the two situations they've put across. To what extent will you say that these two situations will play a key role in explaining their position, as in where the economy is now?
I think I'll advise every member of the committee, the campaign team, to quickly shelve that notion that they keep telling people. I mean, that construct, because it's not biting. See, it's not even convincing anybody. And I think it's about time that they shelve that particular explanation, because it's not really helping them at all. And now, so Ghanaians have been sufficiently educated to know that those twin evils may have had an impact, but not as significant as they want to make it sound. Not at all. And indeed, we've explained time with that number that these two scenarios did not just affect Ghana, for which we had outlier macroeconomic figures. Let's not even begin to repeat them at all, right? Within the sub-region alone, we realized that we were an outlier. Across Africa, we are probably the last but one when it comes to economic freedom. So let's not, and I think it is wise not to start that narrative. Or even the out people must be tired of that narrative. I mean, the NPP followers must be tired of that narrative. I think they should be cautious and tell us exactly where we are right now. Are we going for another debt exchange? Is it likely? What are the processes for which this government will look? What are the plans to raise revenue? And by the way, what exactly should the government be doing, and what should the government leave to the private sector? That's why I'm telling you that I'm in awe of Bawumia's promise of having the private sector partner the government. I want to see a 70-30% arrangement, minus the chronic capitalist arrangements, which essentially leads to the corruption. Look at this, the budget statement as you're dealing with right now is giving fictitious tax exemptions of about 12.5 billion Ghana cedis to entities that are not particularly loan. We don't even know the value they're going to get back to the economy. And the government is struggling to raise additional revenue of about 11 billion. Who does that? You are giving 12.5 billion away in fictitious tax exemptions and waiting and harassing everybody to collect additional 11 billion. No. I think the campaign team is better served by telling us what things they would like to do as a government and the things they would like to leave to the private sector. Is it tolling roads? Is it building bridges? Is it even building schools? I've said that even prisons. I'd like to see even prisons being privatized. Of course, it must be done properly, and all of that. So I'm not for one I think we have reached that juncture where we want to ask ourselves, what are the optimal arrangements for taxation for the country? And what exactly should our governments be doing? Our government should not be in the business of doing that and go at a low basis. These things are left for the private sector. There's OA, all these people are doing this stuff. Our government should have the serious business of making sure that, look, how do we get water, electricity, transportation, basic education, health to people? Those are the things that matter. And for that, they must be interested in raising about $12 billion in executing those ones, which again, I suspect about $7 or $8 billion of that must go to the private sector, or must come from the private sector. Right.
Very well. Great. Final comments, Alfred. 20 seconds.
On which one?
On the manifesto and everything. I mean, the campaign team, yes.
Campaign team. I thought my good brother was going to talk about it, but he diverted into other spheres.
He mentioned, he said...
he just did a general mention and then moved into his own...
No, because he said that's what the campaign team should be focusing
on. How can the campaign team focus on what is happening now? They are supposed to work towards 2025.
Yeah, but the context, the campaign team will work with the context, and the economic context is what...
So let them come out to tell you that, listen, this is where we are driving towards. This is what we've done. That's why I told you that we are taking all the previous manifestos that we said we are going to do.
The failed promises.
Even some of the promises they are not failed.
But they couldn't.
The mere fact that they haven't fulfilled them doesn't mean it's failed.
No, but within a 4-year period, it is failed. Anyway, all right.
It's an ongoing.
Very well. It's an ongoing.
And government is a continuum, and we are going to continue on
no
the
problem.
good deeds.
10 seconds.
Thank you so much. I want to repeat the fact that this is a campaign team that hasn't got anything to do with Bawumia's own commitments to form a team. It's an external to him.
That is total fallacy.
If you look at the whole team, you realize that it's an Eastern region-led campaign team. You can look at the campaign.
Now you don't want it to be Northern region.
The campaign chairman.
Now you don't want it to be Northern region.
And the strategies, they are all Eastern. That shows that it is somebody else who is thinking for him. It might not be the best. I don't think that this is a team that can lead us to another.
Thank you so much. So this is how we conclude today's edition of the program. My name is Selam Adunu. My guests, Honorable Rashid Popu, Alfred Thompson, and Franklin Kujo. Thank you so much for doing the listening and the viewing. Catch you same time next week. Have a good afternoon.